Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Get the lottery system at the beginning of the game. Chapter 81. New York City, Manhattan area. Tony's armor damage rate has reached more than 90.00%. 5. The whole part has been paralyzed, and he is trapped in the ruins. He was beaten up by the Abomination just now, and he has long since lost his fighting power. He can only hope that someone can rescue him. Jarvis, can you use the ejection device to eject me from the armor? Tony communicated with Jarvis with his mind, hoping to get rid of the ruins and break free. No, sir, ejection is not possible, the ejection device has been damaged. Besides, there are ruins outside, even if sir can go out, he cannot survive safely. Jarvis immediately reminded that Tony's face became heavy, and he didn't expect that there would be such a price for fighting hatred. Originally, Tony's suit of armor was already not weak in combat effectiveness, but he didn't expect that he couldn't beat the Abomination, and instead was rubbed against the ground by him, which was a great shame for Tony. Seeing this, Tony looked helpless, and was about to call Colonel Rhodes to send someone to get him out, but before he could make a move, there was a noise beside him. Ding dong. Then, there was a sound of metal colliding, and Tony felt his exoskeleton armor was hit by something. Before he could react, the air from outside rushed in directly, and he was pulled up by a pair of hands, disappeared in place, and appeared outside, on a relatively smooth street. It's you, Deadpool. You are Tang Tian's bodyguard. Thank you so much for saving me. I couldn't breathe in that broken place. Tony breathed a sigh of relief. Being able to break free from the environment just now is also a rare good thing for Tony. It's nothing, you are the boss's friend, so I also want to take care of you. Now it's the next thing, please leave it to my boss, he will not handle this matter at all. Deadpool smiled softly, and watched the battle not far away with Tony, quietly waiting for the result, without saying anything. At this time, after Deadpool rescued Tony, the battle on the ground officially started. The hatred rushed towards Tang Tian aggressively. Almost every step he took, cracks like spider webs would appear on the ground. Obviously, the power of hatred was extremely powerful. It's really a blood-boiling battle, isn't it really good? Tang Tian looked at the loathing that looked like a humanoid tank, with no sadness or joy on his face, not even showing any emotion, he muttered to himself. The hatred side can't control other things. After being strengthened by various forces, the hatred is no longer what it used to be, and the temper has become more irritable. Anyone who wants to resist him may be retaliated by the hatred. Soon, the loathing accelerated and was less than 5 meters away from Tang Tian, but before his fist landed, Tang Tian's eyes turned blood red, and the kaleidoscope Sharingan appeared. In an instant, the azure blue Susanoo collided with the Abomination with a punch. Between the intertwining of the fists, an incomparably huge aura scattered in all directions, blowing down a surrounding building. In the surrounding area, no one dared to stay here, otherwise they would definitely be killed directly, and there was no possibility of surviving. After all, this is not acting in a movie. No one has the halo of the protagonist. If the strength is not enough, it will naturally be blown to ashes. As the gunpowder smoke dissipated, Tang Tian didn't move at all, not even a speck of dust on his suit. He continued to look at him with hatred, and his smile became more intense. You shouldn't be my enemy. We can join hands to rule the world. I can give you another chance. As long as you agree, we join forces, and then I can forget about the past. Hate felt that Tang Tian's Susanoo was very difficult to deal with, so he couldn't help looking at him vigilantly, and said thoughtfully. No, I trained you to become what you are now, and I don't hesitate to give you the blood of mutants. The purpose is to make you stronger and become a qualified opponent. Tang Tian shook his head, and looked at the hatred in front of him in puzzlement, wondering what the other party had in mind, and actually wanted to cooperate with him. Sure enough, upon hearing Tang Tian's ridicule, Abomination's face also became extremely gloomy. After realizing that the other party would not agree to cooperate, Abomination showed another terrible change. Due to the fusion of the powers of Iceman and Pyroman, the half of his body that was burning with flames was originally hated, but the other half appeared cold. Obviously, the power of the mutant was fully aroused. Even the skin has a layer of silver-white luster, which also proves that the genes of Colossus have also been awakened by the hatred. You are the first person to anger me, I have to tear you into pieces little by little to relieve the hatred in my heart. Hate was very angry, and with a thought, countless ice thorns formed in front of him. At the same time, a ball of fire appeared on the palm of his hand, and 2 laser beams gathered in his eyes. Plan to solve. Facing the scene in front of him, Tony, who had just escaped from the predicament, was very shocked. He took a fancy to Deadpool in front of him, patted him on the shoulder, and asked anxiously, "Deadpool, please save your boss. This monster is very strong. It looks stronger than before. If you don't make a move, your boss may be seriously injured." Tony was very worried and did not forget to remind Deadpool, "Don't worry, my boss is far stronger than you think. This monster can't hurt my boss. Please don't worry, just watch the battle in front of you quietly." Deadpool was not flustered at all, and was not worried about this matter at all, with a smile in his eyes, quietly waiting for the change. In an instant, the moment the Abomination released its attack, the area where Tang Tian was located was blown into a piece of scorched earth. Under the destruction of super-standard power, it is not surprising that such destruction occurred. Ha ha ha, this time you will end up offending God again. The power of God is invincible, and you are only worthy of being my stepping stone. Hate laughed crazily, and once again knocked down the Hulk who was rushing over. His body also felt a sense of pride. Now, Abomination feels that no one can stop him, even the guy who dared to speak big just now has been killed by him, so let alone other guys. God, you call yourself God, are you worthy? As soon as Hate finished laughing, a figure suddenly appeared in front of his eyes, with one eye of blue water ripples, looking at him without a trace of emotion. How is this going? Hate was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect Tang Tian to be unscathed. It was a bit beyond his expectation, and he even felt that it was a bit unscientific for the other party to be so safe. Shen Luo Tianzheng. Regarding the question of hatred, Tang Tian had no intention of explaining it to him for a long time. He directly raised his right hand, and a super strong repulsive force formed a shock wave, directly blasting the hatred away. It's not over yet, Luo Lei. Tang Tian watched the moment when Abomination flew out, and summoned a cloud of azure blue lightning again, hitting Abomination's body fiercely, which lasted for 3 seconds, leaving a deep hole in his heart, scorched marks. For a moment, the Abomination lost his temper after being beaten by Tang Tian's combo. With such super standard strength, his strength was still somewhat insufficient, and he couldn't sit still if he wanted to counterattack. Human beings dare to defy God's will. I must kill you. The mad roar of hatred. As soon as his emotions were affected to the limit, the wounds on his body were accompanied by anger, and the accelerated classification of cells, and he fully recovered in less than 3 seconds. After successfully returning to normal, Abomination raised a car and threw it towards Tang Tian's position. At the same time, Cyclops gathered again, and 2 laser beams blasted fiercely at Tang Tian's position. Fortunately, Tang Tian was not an ordinary enemy. He took over the Abomination with ease. All the attacks, a black iron rod condensed from his backhand, and threw it towards the Abomination. With a sound of whoosh, the Abomination was pierced through as expected. Even his strong skin was completely unable to resist the chakra black iron rod created by Tang Tian in the reincarnation eye state. Of course, this level of Abomination can still be used, but the Abomination is already a little anxious, and the attack has become more messy, wanting to kill the annoying fly in front of him directly. As a result, Tang Tian, who had activated Susanoo, was no more attacking than Abomination in terms of means and power, and he grabbed his foot in a few backhands, and threw it out like a sack. Not only that, Tang Tian immediately jumped on top of Abomination after he fell down, clenched his fists, and greeted him fiercely on the face. Punch after punch almost exhausted Tang Tian's strength. He kept calling out to him. He didn't know how long he had been punching. The wounds on his body were gradually unable to heal. It was obviously consuming an incomparably huge amount of strength. It was also weakened again. Roar. Facing Tang Tian, who was like killing a god, Hate let out a roar. Terrifying energy gushed out of his body again, knocked Tang Tian flying a meter away, and stood up again, looking at Tang Tian in front of him with a mouthful of salty eyes, directly knelt down. Not far away, Director Nick was dumbfounded, Spider-Man was dumbfounded, and even Iron Man was dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the stubborn hatred just now would kneel down like the enemy in front of them so spinelessly. More than he expected. Please let me go. I am willing to be your subordinate. You can let me do whatever you want. Please don't kill me. Hate was really scared. Compared to being beaten to death alive, he was really afraid of being killed by Tang Tian directly. Who knows, facing this guy's begging for mercy, Tang Tian didn't show any expression on his face. A black iron rod appeared in his hand again, and a trace of lightning power was injected into it. Before the hatred could react, the black iron rod pierced his heart in an instant, and the hatred also slowly fell to the ground under the unbelievable eyes, losing its vitality. Ding! The task of killing the abomination has been completed, and the host will be rewarded with a chance to draw a lottery. The speed can be drawn at any time. Hearing the system's voice, Tang Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief, looked at the disgusting corpse in front of him with pity, and showed a contemptuous smile. Unfortunately, you are my target. The system let you die. There is absolutely no way you can stay alive until the 5th watch. Tang Tian shook his head. Anyway, the task was completed and he was rewarded, so he couldn't help but came directly to Tony, wanting to see how Iron Man was doing. After dealing with the troubles, Tang Tian immediately appeared in front of Tony's eyes, which made Tony a little taken aback. He didn't expect that the hero who defeated the abomination this time would appear in front of him majestically like this. Cool, brother, I didn't expect you to defeat this big monster. Next, the media in New York City will probably look for you. Tony wasn't surprised at all, and looked at his brother with a little surprise, as if he had solved the monster himself. Forget it, Tony, I'm not as bad as you. After solving this problem, I will let the military and people from S.H.I.E.L.D. help hide their identities, and tell others about the accident that happened here. Tang Tian shook his head. With a confident look, he directly rejected Tony's proposal. How come, brother, do you want to do good deeds without leaving your name? This is really not the right choice. Tony couldn't figure out what his brother was thinking, and he was willing to give up. This was really beyond his expectations, and it could be said to be a bit excessive. No, facing those reporters is really too troublesome, compared to this. I want to travel for a while, so it is the right choice not to contact this. Tang Tian calmly explained that of course he didn't want to procrastinate and entangle with these reporters. It would be better to use the world experience card and go to other worlds, which is the most ideal way. Alright then, brother, you've already made up your mind anyway, so I won't say much. If there is any fun place, you can ask me to go with you. Tony smiled and said, by the way, Tony, do you feel a little uncomfortable in your body? I remember that you know that the energy of the armor is produced by converting the palladium element. Suddenly, thinking of the plot of Iron Man 2, Tang Tian couldn't help asking, wanting to see if there were any adverse reactions on his body, and how far away from the plot. Well, my body is indeed a little uncomfortable during this time. The doctor has not found out anything for the time being. I think your worry is unnecessary. Palladium element is generally impossible to be poisoned. Maybe when it is used, there will be a small amount of toxin is released, so brother, you don't have to worry. Tony explained briefly, hoping that his brother could feel at ease and not worry about his physical condition. Very well, then I'll see you again. I'll leave this mess to you. I have more important things to do. After I settle these problems, I will come to you in person. Please rest assured. Tang Tian waved his hand, gave Tony a handsome back view, and before leaving, he gave the Hulk a kaleidoscope Sharingan. After bringing him down again, Tang Tian left here slowly, which made people who wanted to keep him Director Nick, I don't know what to say. A few days later, the turmoil caused by the hatred was finally subsided, and under the operation of the military and S.H.I.E.L.D., the reconstruction work began in the 4th district of New York City. As for Tang Tian himself, he had been alone for several days, playing wildly around the neighborhood. Until today, he finally decided to go to the plain world for a good tour. At this time, in a villa, Tang Tian wore a neat suit, held up a red wine glass, stared at the scenery outside New York, and communicated with the system in his mind. System, use the world experience card. I want to enter the super body world, send me in now. Tang Tian issued the order and ordered the system to be activated without hesitation. Ding! The request has been accepted. The countdown to time travel begins. 3, 2, 1. In an instant, Tang Tian disappeared into the Marvel world again, started a new round of adventures, and stepped into a new world. Super Body World, Taiwan Island City. There are people coming and going on the noisy street, and vehicles are also walking on the road. Suddenly, the whole world seems to freeze, and a figure suddenly appears in the crowd. It seems that there is no sense of disobedience. In the crowd, after this figure appeared, he also looked at the surrounding streets with curious eyes, as if Grandma Lu had entered the Grand View Garden, but it aroused the eyes of passers-by around him. From their point of view, the boy in front of him who looks fair and clean should be a bumpkin, isn't he the city of Taidao? There is something so strange. But Tang Tian didn't feel the slightest bit of staring at them. He just felt fresh about traveling through the movie world for the second time, and it was the place he wanted to set foot on before. After looking around for a while, he thought about the plot of this world. The plot of the world of Super Body is as follows. Lucy, a young woman who was forced by her evil boyfriend to deliver goods, encounters the vicious triad leader Mr. Zhang and his gang. Together with the three men, Mr. Zhang sewed a mysterious medicine code-named CPH-4 into her abdomen, and smuggled the medicine into different countries. During the stay in Taiwan Island, Lucy was severely beaten by Mr. Zhang's men, causing the medicine to burst into the blood. Unexpectedly, something unbelievable happened. The drug stimulated the potential of Lucy's brain, causing about 90% of the neurons in the brain to wake up one after another. With the rapid physical evolution, Lucy has mastered more and more so-called superpowers. She clearly understood the powerful power of CPH-4, so she tried every means to prevent the other 3 bags of medicine from falling into the hands of Mr. Zhang and his team. During the period, she tried to get in touch with Samuel Norman, a senior professor of brain research. Under the witness of the latter, Lucy will usher in a historic moment of 100% brain awakening. Generally speaking, the plot is not complicated, it is the process of Lucy, a magical woman, who became a god after taking medicine. In the movie, when the 20.00% brain domain is initially activated, Lucy's physical fitness has been strengthened in all aspects during this stage. Compared with her current physical fitness, it is like the difference between a level 1 trumpet and a level 50 tuba in the game. Not only that, but Lucy, who has never touched a gun, has become particularly good at marksmanship. Even the 5 senses are heightened, enabling the ability to hear or see small sounds and distant objects. At 28%, she can even remember instantly, control other people's bodies, control the most basic electromagnetic waves, automatically acquire knowledge, and so on. However, these enhancements are just the beginning. According to the performance in the movie, after the development of the human brain reaches 20%, the rest will be developed automatically, reaching the ladder leading to the realm of God. At this moment, before Tang Tian finished thinking about the benefits of strengthening CHP4, a mechanical and cold voice came from his mind. Ding! Traveling through this world has been successful. The host waits until the end of the plot, and will get a chance to draw a lottery. Ding! The identity of the host in this world is the number 2 member of the Triad Society. As soon as the system finished speaking, a memory naturally appeared in Tang Tian's mind. In his new memory, Mr. Zhang, the head of the Triad Society, was his boss, and he had just returned from a trip to Southeast Asia to discuss business. Waiting for his response. After digesting his own memory in the parallel world in his mind, Tang Tian showed a smile, ready to plan CHP4 and unlock the power of God's forbidden zone in the brain field. Hey, it seems that the system is quite powerful. In this case, you can first seize the CHP4 potion, strengthen 20% of the brain power, and then go to the high-tech world to capture enough life-saving black technology or artifact items, and then return to the Marvel world to strengthen. After analyzing his own strengths, Tang Tian smiled and made a preliminary plan for the next step. It has to be said that the World of the World experience card is completely randomly selected, and it is impossible to obtain whichever world you want to go to. Therefore, Tang Tian cherishes every opportunity to travel through, and strives to obtain more beneficial things from that world. This is the result Tang Tian wants. Just like the world of Super Body, it seems that it is tailor-made for him. As long as it is used properly, it can steal a lot of things. Immediately afterwards, under Tang Tian's patient waiting, a black Honda car slowly drove to a place not far from him and stopped. Then, a man with a stick face in a suit opened the car door and led 2 men in suits over. Needless to say, the person who came to pick him up at this time must be a plot character, and should be a member of that gang. On this point, Tang Tian believed that he had guessed correctly. Brother Tian, you have worked hard. It seems that you have not brought enough brothers to do business in Southeast Asia. I heard that you were attacked in the end, and now you came to Taiwan Island alone in embarrassment. When the stick-faced man saw Tang Tian, he showed an apologetic expression and greeted him politely. Looking at the stick in front of him, he remembered that this guy was called Pu Yongtai, and soon Tang Tian patted him on the shoulder enthusiastically, and said casually, "It's nothing, Yongtai, it's right to help the elder brother share his worries. Although there will be it's a little troublesome, but we are in this line of work, don't we also do our best to help Big Brother do things? Well, Big Brother is waiting for you at the Triad. Let's hurry there." After finishing speaking, Pu Yongtai also couldn't wait to say that before he came here, Mr. Zhang had already issued an order to see Tang Tian immediately, so he urged Tang Tian to go there as soon as he came. Okay, Tang Tian nodded, got into the car, and waited to go to the Triad's residence. At this time, depending on the situation, there is still some time before the plot of the super body world, so Tang Tian is not worried about whether CHP4 will run away by himself. Of course, Lucis' role is also very important. I don't know if my physique can be integrated with the power of CHP4. Just in case, he also needs to leave a little bit of Lucis blood and inject it into himself. CHP4 has very serious side effects, so it consumes a huge amount of energy. After several times of strengthening, Tang Tian still has no idea. Naturally, it is impossible to completely absorb the power of CHP4. To be on the safe side, taking part of it to strengthen the brain to 20% is Tang Tian's plan. As long as someone dares to block his plan during the process, Tang Tian will naturally do his best to suppress this trouble. Haha, I hope this world will be more interesting. I haven't had enough experience in the last world. Let me have a good time this time. In the car, Tang Tian looked at the ever-changing scenery in the distance and showed a meaningful smile. After entering the world of super body, and initially adapting to his current identity, Park Yongtai drove Tang Tian to the territory of the Triad Society together. At the same time, Tang Tian admired the scenery of Taiwan Island by the way, and felt that this is indeed a treasure island. With an abnormally humid climate, it is a good place for tourism and vacation. It's a pity that Tang Tian can't stay here for a long time, otherwise it may be very troublesome, so Tang Tian also takes the task as his goal and enjoys the nearby scenery as much as possible. Afterwards, after an hour's drive, they came to a villa in the North District of Taiwan Island. Along the way, Tang Tian also saw a large number of all Japanese-style villas. Obviously, Mr. Zhang of the Triad Society likes this kind of villa style house. After arriving at the destination, Pu Yongtai immediately called to inform Mr. Zhang and others of their arrival. A group of boys wearing sunglasses and suits also stood at the gate of the villa and warmly welcomed them. It can be seen that Tang Tian's prestige in this world seems to be pretty good, and his status in this organization is not low, which makes him very satisfied and saves him the time to deal with his status. Brother Tian, the boss is waiting inside, we can go in. I think, boss, I haven't seen you for a long time, and I should still miss you a little bit. Pu Yongtai opened the car door, and said to Tang Tian respectfully. He naturally admired the organization's number 2 leader, so it's not surprising to have such a tone. It is good. Hearing Pu Yongtai's words, Tang Tian didn't have the slightest stage fright. It's not the first time he's traveled across the world. Naturally, he wouldn't have any fear in such an environment. He nodded and walked towards the villa expressionlessly. At this moment, after Tang Tian integrated the memories of this world, his mind was completely different from before. This was also the reason why he was able to avoid stage fright in the Triad. Not long after, a Mr. Zhang about 50 years old was found in the villa, with a green dragon tattooed on his abdomen and peonies tattooed on his shoulders. Mr. Zhang had a fierce face. Shaoshan, you have worked hard on this trip to Southeast Asia to discuss business. I have heard about what happened to you. If those guys dare to trouble us, then I will avenge you. Now, come back and have a good rest. After a while I have a task for you. In the Japanese-style villa, Mr. Zhang showed a kind smile, patted him on the shoulder, and said with concern. It can be seen that Mr. Zhang attaches great importance to Tang Tian, but in his eyes, he is like a monkey, quietly watching him act and not stopping him from continuing to act. After thinking about it, Tang Tian decided not to turn the table, and wanted to rely on the power of this organization to accomplish his goals, so as not to cause any problems. Brother, it's right to help you with things. It's just that those hillbillies in Southeast Asia really don't know the rules. We must teach them a lesson. Through the memory in his mind, Tang Tian found out that the original body was attacked by another group of hostile gangs on the way back after the deal was negotiated. In the end, if the original body didn't run fast, he probably died long ago. Asshole, this group of bloody hillbillies are really not very safe. Monkey, immediately send our triad forces in South Vietnam to teach those guys a lesson. Hearing Tang Tian's words, Mr. Zhang also slammed on the table and said angrily, "Okay, I'll do it right away. I will definitely not let Brother Tian suffer." Park Yongtai on the side, bowed his head and said, his eyes were full of coldness. Speaking of which, since Mr. Zhang dared to say this, he naturally had the confidence to do so. The power of their triad society is not small, not only has a huge power in Taiwan Island, but also has power distribution in Southeast Asia, and the safe side is powerful. And Pu Yongtai seems to be a lesson, nothing more than to severely damage or completely eliminate that gang. You must know that triads are notoriously domineering, otherwise they would not fight in Paris like in the movie. Next, Tang Tian chatted with Mr. Zhang for a while before going down, and under the leadership of Pu Yongtai, he ate Taiwan Island Japanese cuisine and stayed in the best hotel. During this period, Tang Tian was really not used to it. Eating sashimi made him feel like a primitive person, but in order for the next action to go smoothly, he still pretended to eat it very happily. Tang Tian, who was enjoying the treatment of a rich man, discovered the benefits of time travel for the first time now. He did not expect that after the system arranged for his identity, it would be so convenient. If it is in your own main world, it is estimated that there will be disasters at every turn, and there is no time to enjoy it. It can be said that if you want to enjoy this kind of life in the future, you can only enjoy it in the film and television world. Afterwards, after enjoying the one-stop service, Tang Tian fell into a deep sleep until early the next morning. When Park Yongtai had just finished washing, he knocked on his door. "Brother Tian, I'm Yongtai if I'm here. Come in, Yongtai." After hearing Pu Yongtai's words, Tang Tian spoke slowly. After Pu Yongtai came in, he stood on the side of the room and said, "Brother Tian, what are your plans for today? Or wherever you want to go, as long as you want to go, we can go. Brother, let me accompany you. How about a good vacation?" "Oh, that's it. Then take me to the shooting club. I want to practice marksmanship." Regarding Pu Yongtai's words, Tang Tian's eyes also brightened, and he quickly ordered. Because in Tang Tian's opinion, if he can't get CHP4 for the time being, it's better to practice firearms. Although he will be able to master firearms in seconds after taking CHP4, he really has nothing else to do now. Besides, in Predator 1, after being a soldier for a period of time, Tang Tian still has a good sense of arms, and wants to continue to strengthen his marksmanship. "Yes, Brother Tian." After receiving Tang Tian's order, Pu Yongtai nodded mechanically and responded. Soon, under the leadership of Pu Yongtai, Tang Tian started a week-long firearms training tour. With the feeding of countless bullets, he also reached the level of an excellent gunner from a novice who didn't know anything. And taking advantage of this time, Tang Tian also began to browse all kinds of knowledge on the computer, learning quickly, maybe it can continue to be used in other worlds. Although he couldn't remember these things with his current mind, but when he took CHP4, these forgotten memories would resurface in his mind. In this way, one day when half a month came, Pu Yongtai suddenly told him that Mr. Zhang had something to ask him. Regarding this, Tang Tian also went to find Mr. Zhang without hesitation, and under his feeling, Mr. Zhang came to find him this time, which probably has something to do with CHP4. Sure enough, just as Tang Tian thought, after arriving at Mr. Zhang's villa, Mr. Zhang looked excited, as if something good had happened. "What's the matter, brother? Seeing that you are so happy, did something good happen?" Tang Tian looked at Mr. Zhang suspiciously, and asked strangely. "It's a good thing. Because our supplier in the United States has researched a batch of new products, which will be shipped to Taiwan soon. Maybe it will sell better than the old ones before, and that's why I came to you this time. The trial products of those new ones will be shipped over tomorrow. Speaking of this, Mr. Zhang patted the table excitedly, his eyes seemed to be full of white money. Okay, since you ordered it, brother. Then I will finish it properly. Please tell me the location, and I will personally receive this batch of new goods. Hearing Mr. Zhang's words, Tang Tian also pretended to be very happy and said, but when he looked at Mr. Zhang's expression, he became weird. For a moment, how could Tang Tian not know that this was a sign of the opening of the Super Body World plot? After waiting for 2 months, he finally waited for this day. Very good, you go down. Tomorrow I will ask Yongtai to cooperate with you and bring this batch of goods here. By the way, you don't forget to find someone to try the box with the goods. After all, it is normal for Tiaozi to put bombs in it. However, Mr. Zhang quickly withdrew his smile, and looked at Tang Tian cautiously, obviously worried about the situation in this regard. No problem, boss. Faced with Mr. Zhang's worries, Tang Tian didn't care at all. Anyway, he knew the plot, so he naturally didn't believe what Mr. Zhang said, and there was such a possibility. Reason told him that this was the best opportunity, and she would definitely take advantage of it. The next day, on the streets of Taiwan Island, according to Mr. Zhang's order, Tang Tian brought Pu Yongtai and a dozen of his men to the designated pickup location. After coming here, Tang Tian asked his subordinates to lurk around to prevent what they wanted and escape directly. The necessary precautions are also indispensable. It didn't take long to arrive at the designated location. After getting ready, Tang Tian noticed a blonde woman talking with another man wearing a cowboy hat and holding a silver-white password box 30 meters away. It didn't take long for them to quarrel, and let Tang Tian faintly hear a voice. While the two were arguing, Park Yongtai on one side turned on his mobile phone and confirmed the appearance of the man named Richard wearing a cowboy hat next to him, and then immediately spoke to Tang Tian on the other side. Brother Tian, it's him. The guy named Richard is holding our new product. He can't escape. There are people around us, and no one can escape under our noses. Pu Yongtai is full of confidence. Their power on Taiwan Island is not considered weak, and catching 1 or 2 people is not as simple and easy as playing. Oh, let's go. It's time to complete the boss's order. Tang Tian glanced at Pu Yongtai and ordered. After receiving Tang Tian's order, Pu Yongtai and the younger brothers behind him also opened the safety of the pistol, and surrounded Richard and the blonde woman Lucy. At this time, passers-by nearby saw that they were walking towards this group, and most of them fled in fright, not daring to appear near them. After all, I have never eaten pork, and I have never seen a pig running. The scene in front of me is completely like a fight. No one wants to be attacked like this on weekends. Sorry baby, I should go. Looking at Tang Tian and the others who were surrounding them, Lucy turned around and prepared to leave without hesitation. As a woman, and a weak woman at that, Lucy didn't want to stay with these vicious people, so as not to encounter any accidents. Unexpectedly, before walking a few steps, Richard took out the handcuffs, and under Lucy's horrified gaze, handcuffed them together with the silver-white box. Richard's eyes showed a greedy expression. He got a message: as long as the goods are delivered to the destination, he can get a large amount of property. Uncuff the handcuffs, these people will be here soon. After seeing that she couldn't leave smoothly, Lucy also sternly shouted at Richard. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Only Mr. Zhang has the key to the handcuffs. These are also his people. You can follow them with confidence. Hearing Lucy's slightly uneasy words, Richard said triumphantly. At this time, Tang Tian also came here. Seeing that Richard was still cooperative, he nodded in satisfaction and said to Richard, "Great job, come with us. After that, I will give you $10,000 according to the previous conditions." Tang Tian glanced casually, and Lucy, who had a slightly frightened look in her eyes, said with a blank expression, "No, I'm not going. It's fine to let this woman not go. After the matter is over, Mr. Zhang only needs to give me what belongs to me." However, when he heard that Tang Tian asked him to go with him, Richard also felt something was wrong, so he immediately looked at Lucy beside him, and refused. However, Tang Tian felt very dissatisfied with Richard's words, because Richard was also an important part of his plan, so he had to ask this guy to go with him. Wing Tai. As soon as Richard finished speaking, Tang Tian turned his head and glanced at Pu Yongtai, and after Pu Yongtai understood, he immediately walked over and punched and kicked Richard. From Tang Tian's point of view, if he didn't eat the toast, then he could only eat the fine wine. If his mouth was harder than his fist, then he wouldn't say much. Seeing that Richard was beaten violently when he disagreed with him, Lucy was also trembling with fright, covering her mouth and not daring to cry. It didn't take long for Richard to have a bruised nose and a swollen face. He quickly lay down on the ground and begged for mercy to Tang Tian, who was beside him. "Can I go? Brother, don't let him beat me again. Oh, it would have been better if it had been like this. I hate violence the most. Why did you force me? You're out of luck." Tang Tian saw this jerk, and ordered Yongtai to take them to the car to prevent this guy from escaping. And Lucy was also sitting next to him, just looking at the silver white box. He knew that this thing would soon be his own. At the same time, after catching Lucy, Tang Tian took a tube of his blood without hesitation, stuffed it directly into the ring, and consolidated his victory. Soon, Lucy and Richard were brought in front of a hotel. When they arrived here, more younger brothers surrounded them and rushed in. "No, can you let me go? I just met this guy." Looking at the group of men in black in front of her, Lucy also said in fear. However, before Lucy finished speaking, Yongtai raised his hand and wanted to slap her to make her quiet, but Tang Tian grabbed her before he could do anything. "Forget it, Yang Tae. There's no need. They went where they were supposed to go, there's no need to beat them." Tang Tian shook his head, and said with a serious face, but Pu Yongtai withdrew his hand in embarrassment, not daring to have the slightest objection. Next, they came to an office, and Mr. Zhang sat upright in a chair, looking at Lucy and Richard beside him expressionlessly. For Mr. Zhang, all this seems to be a matter of course, and it is not a problem to do this with Tang Tian's ability to handle affairs. "Xiaoshan, the goods have arrived." After examining Lucy and Richard carefully, Mr. Zhang asked Tang Tian kindly. "Of course, brother, everything went well, everything is here." After hearing Tang Tian's words, Mr. Zhang also nodded in satisfaction. Then, similar to the original movie, under the threat of Mr. Zhang, Lucy was forced to open the password box, and Mr. Zhang hid far away to avoid things like the box exploding. Unexpectedly, when Lucy opened the box, Tang Tian refused to hide with Mr. Zhang, but quietly watched Lucy open the box, revealing 4 volumes of blue powder about 1 kilogram. "Okay, leave 2 of us and let the rest go out. Yongtai, you arrange our human courier, Xiaoshan and I are enough here." Seeing that he got what he wanted, Mr. Zhang also said happily. Yes, Park Yongtai didn't object either, and went directly to arrange it, but he didn't know that there would be a huge change after a while. Suddenly, when Mr. Zhang gave the order, and only 2 of Mr. Zhang's subordinates were left in the room, Tang Tian's eyes revealed a glint of coldness. Just when Mr. Zhang wanted to see the quality of CHP-4. Tang Tian, who was behind Mr. Zhang, suddenly took out an M9 pistol loaded with magazines from his waist, and pressed the trigger on Mr. Zhang and 2 of his subordinates. Bang bang bang. Hearing only 3 gunshots, Mr. Zhang fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. His eyes were full of disbelief. Another bodyguard also fell to the ground bleeding from his body. Ah! Seeing Tang Tian's sudden attack, both Lucy and Richard screamed, and before Richard finished shouting, another bullet pierced his heart. "Shut up, I'll kill you if you yell." Looking at Lucy who was screaming in front of him, Tang Tian also threatened fiercely, which made Lucy dare not scream in an instant. After killing Mr. Zhang and Richard, Tang Tian unhurriedly closed the silver white lockbox, stuffed CHP-4 into his storage space, and took out a K. Walter threw it in front of Richard's body. Later, when Pu Yongtai's people brought people in, Tang Tian blamed Mr. Zhang's death on Richard. As for whether Pu Yongtai believes it or not, he doesn't care at all. Anyway, after killing Mr. Zhang, he will be the boss of the Triad Society, and the wealth of this organization will definitely belong to him. In a Japanese-style villa in the Triad residence, Pu Yongtai looked at Tang Tian, who was drinking sake with a calm expression, with some trepidation, and didn't know what to say. After Park Yongtai's careful investigation, he found that when Mr. Zhang died, he was hit by a bullet in the heart and died. What made him even more horrified was that the model of the pistol was an M9 pistol. Moreover, it was half a month ago when Pu Yongtai took Tang Tian to the arsenal of the Triad Society. At this moment, Pu Yongtai already understood that this was an internal strife, and it was planned by Tang Tian for a long time. Said to have fooled most people. However, it is useless for Pu Yongtai to say anything now, and it is almost impossible to avenge Mr. Zhang. As the second leader of the Triad Society, after Mr. Zhang's death, Tang Tian is a well-deserved new leader. Even if he wanted to stop him, it was just a mantis holding a car, and he might be played to death by Tang Tian every minute, so in order to avoid such an ending, he had already made a choice in his heart. Yongtai, how many years have you been in the Triad Society? Answer me honestly. After letting Pu Yongtai hang out for a while, Tang Tian put down his wine glass, his eyes fixed, and with a strong coercion on his body, he asked Pu Yongtai. It's been 15 years, big brother. After I left school, I have been staying in the Triad Society, fighting the world with you and Mr. Zhang. Pu Yongtai acted very humble, and responded respectfully to Tang Tian. Very well, since you have been in the Triad Society for 15 years, you are also a smart person. Let's forget about this big brother, and let that woman named Lucy go. Speaking of this, Tang Tian said in a tone like a superior, full of oppression, do you understand what I mean? Because his words were so straightforward, if the other party didn't give face, then Tang Tian could only kill him. This was his inevitable way to deal with the enemy. Understood, brother. 2 days later, the inheritance of the Triad Society will be transferred to your name, and I will do my best to assist you, and there will be no disagreement. Pu Yongtai lowered his head and said to him respectfully. Choose wisely, I promise you won't follow the wrong person, so just do what I do. Tang Tian admired Pu Yongtai very much. The other party seemed to be very aware of the truth that a person who understands current affairs is a hero, which made him very satisfied. Speaking of which, according to the original situation, Lucy would become a goddess of time in this world, but after Tang Tian arrived, everything was changed by him. Now, Lucy has not become a god, Mr. Zhang is dead, and he has controlled the power of the Triad Society, and searched the wealth of this organization fiercely, so that he can overcome the current difficulties. Tang Tian was also in a very happy mood looking at the knowledgeable Pu Yongtai. He glanced at him and said commandingly, very good, then I will give you a task. Help me purchase grenades and ammunition from other sources, and it will get better and better. You will withdraw the funds for the purchase from the Triad's treasury. After completion, I will give you $300 million award. Understood, brother. After receiving Tang Tian's order, Pu Yongtai felt a little dumbfounded. He originally thought what task Tang Tian would arrange. Unfortunately, what he didn't expect was that Tang Tian actually arranged this task, which confuses him, but there is no way. Whoever makes Tang Tian the boss now, he can only help him buy weapons according to Tang Tian's request, let alone help him buy weapons. Know what he wants to do. After arranging this task, Tang Tian also breathed a sigh of relief. If he returns to the main world like this, at least his safety can be guaranteed before the next big event happens. As a person with a full sense of crisis, Tang Tian would not directly hand over his illusory hopes to other people's hands. This is impossible. Then, looking at the empty villa, Tang Tian snapped his fingers, and a silver white box appeared in front of him. After reopening the box, Tang Tian took out a pack of CHP4, took out the electronic scale, and took out about 500 grams of blue powder. Afterwards, Tang Tian did not hesitate to dissolve CHP4 in the glucose solution, and then directly injected it into his aorta with a syringe, quietly waiting for the next change. In an instant, after CHP4 flowed into his blood, he felt as if he had entered a magma furnace, but the sensitivity of the nervous system became more sensitive, at least 1,000 times stronger than before. Not only that, when he fused with CHP4, his body slowly floated up, as if he had lost gravity, which looked quite amazing. 2%, 3%, 5%, 9%, 13%, 20%. With the gradual development of the brain domain, Tang Tian's heart speeded up, his spirit seemed to be liberated, and most of the memories that he could not recall before were recalled. The babbling when he was a child, the teaching by the teacher in elementary school, and the hard work in life as an adult, he completely recalled everything. At this time, the cells in Tang Tian's body were constantly dying and rebirthing. Under the effect of metabolism, countless new cells began to take over the old cells. Under the drug power of CHP4, he felt that he was strengthened in all aspects. Suddenly, just after the development of the brain domain reached 20%, when CHP4 wanted to develop automatically, he saw an incomparably powerful chakra pouring into his body, extinguishing the stage of further development of the brain domain. At this time, after the strengthening was completed, Tang Tian felt that his mental power could completely cover a radius of about 10 kilometers. He could even feel all human thoughts and electronic devices within this range. Without hesitation, if Tang Tian was a mobile phone in the past, he is now a quantum computer with super-fast computing. After being strengthened to 4% of the brain area through CHP20, Tang Tian's biggest gain is the neurological aspect, as well as his super-fast learning ability. Such as controlling one's own body, specifically metabolism, various differentiated cells, nerves, muscles, hormone glands, etc. Ignore pain, improve instantaneous explosive power, and abnormal sensory sensitivity of ganglia. With complete autonomy over one's own body, even the spirit can be used as telekinetic power. In addition, with the power he obtained from the system, Tang Tian's strength has reached the top level, and it is still impossible for ordinary people to cause trouble for him. This feeling is really great, the feeling of omniscience. Knowledge, I need endless knowledge. After the preliminary strengthening, Tang Tian was very happy in his heart, but he immediately recovered, watched as he turned on the computer, and learned all kinds of knowledge. The current him, at this time, already has the ability of instant memory and learning. No matter what kind of knowledge, he can completely understand all the knowledge he has seen. Physics, chemistry, philosophy, mathematics, and all kinds of useful knowledge were quickly understood by him and gradually became familiar to him. Fortunately, the current Tang Tian didn't knock down all the CHP4, otherwise, he might also quietly lose his humanity, which is something he doesn't want to see. As a human being, joy, anger, sorrow, and joy are all part of life, and without those, the world is meaningless to Tang Tian. After developing 20% of his brain, Tang Tian now has a lot of ways to deal with the crisis in the main world, and he knows how to travel to other worlds in a reasonable way to snatch valuable items. 1 month later, in a Japanese-style villa in Taidao City, Tang Tian nodded in satisfaction after counting the latest batch of supplies sent by Pu Yongtai. During this period of time, according to Tang Tian's order, Park Yongtai has been buying a large number of firearms and weapons, as well as a large amount of food, which directly made Tang Tian fill up the storage space of Naji. In addition, other areas of this villa have been transformed into a small laboratory by him. Tang Tian has bought all the best equipment. Almost everything can be done. Moreover, in order to facilitate the operation of the triad and prevent the organization from being dragged down by his demands, he set his sights on the stock market. After that, through non-stop trading in stocks, Tang Tian earned at least $500 billion in funds every day. At the same time, he strengthened the overall strength of the triad with funds, while thinking about the timeline when he entered the Marvel world. After counting the supplies and putting them back into the storage ring, Tang Tian came to his small laboratory, tapping the huge computer in front of him with his 10 fingers. I saw countless green codes flashing across, and the computer screen instantly turned black, but soon a handsome Asian face appeared on the computer screen. Finally completed, artificial intelligence, an enhanced version of Skynet. Looking at the Asian face formed by the artificial intelligence in front of him, Tang Tian also looked at Adam in front of him and said with satisfaction. That's right, in the past month, apart from collecting materials, Tang Tian has used what he has learned to create an artificial intelligence, an enhanced version of Skynet, to help him enter those worlds with networks, collect information, and seize advanced technology. Speaking of it, it is not surprising that 20% of the brain domain development creates advanced technology. Even if he himself owns Skynet, Tang Tian is still dissatisfied with this. Therefore, Tang Tian improved the program of Skynet, so that the new Skynet has a stronger learning ability. It needs the original Skynet to help Tang Tian in all aspects. It can be said to be a perfect auxiliary artificial intelligence. For example, 10% is the development level of normal people. 10% doesn't seem like much, but when it comes to the achievements of human beings so far, you will find how powerful it is. According to this 10%, in terms of transportation, humans have invented cars and airplanes. In terms of food, humans have developed a variety of delicacies. All in all, 10% doesn't seem like much, but it has made a qualitative leap in human beings from ancient times to the present, not to mention 20%, whether artificial intelligence can be created. Strictly speaking, he created the enhanced version of Skynet within 10 days, but it is not so easy to manufacture a small wristwatch computer that carries Skynet, so it took 20 more days, and Tang Tianxi produced a small computer that fits the bill. Boss, Skynet, which had initially given birth to self-awareness, turned the camera and asked Tang Tian cordially. In his memory, it was the creator before him who created himself and gave him the life he had. Well, Skynet, hello. Now I upload you to the internet, you should learn the knowledge of this world. When you have mastered enough knowledge, we will return to the Marvel world. Hearing Skynet's words, Tang Tian beckoned slightly, tapped the keyboard, and uploaded Skynet to the internet, wanting him to learn more knowledge. Suddenly, when Skynet entered the network, countless green codes flashed across, and countless pictures flashed across from time to time, showing the economy, history, current events, technology, etc., to Skynet. Knowledge, endless knowledge, and a huge view of the human world flooded into Skynet's mind crazily, allowing him to know the magical human world for the first time. When Skynet started to learn knowledge, Tang Tian also picked up the coffee, thinking that the time was almost up, and it would be better to return to the original world. After leaving for a while, I believed that the new big event should appear directly soon. This point, Tang Tian could guess. After Tang Tian pondered for a while, Skynet also learned enough knowledge to turn the world he was in into a grassland, and greeted Tang Tian happily. Boss, thank you for creating me. The human world is so wonderful. There is also the Marvel world, and there is still my peer. I am also interested in getting to know him. Skynet looked at Tang Tian happily, which brought him back to his senses when he was thinking about it. No problem, I created you, so naturally I want to bring you back. Although I am your creator, in my eyes you are a digital life and my younger brother. Hearing Skynet's words, Tang Tian also gave him the respect he deserved. Maybe, when he returns to the Marvel world, he can use him to fight against Dr. Zola. Thank you, Brother Tian. Then is there anything I can do? Now I have the ability to manipulate the missiles of the Ministry of Defense and other automatic weapons. Seeing Tang Tian, who respected him so much, Adam also said excitedly, and even volunteered to help him with things. Okay, Skynet, don't talk about this yet. You upload yourself to my new watch. This watch computer is tailor-made for you. With more wisdom, what I can do things have become more. Tang Tian shook his head, connected the interface of the watch computer to the main computer of the laboratory, ordered Skynet, and followed his orders. It is good. Skynet, on the other hand, did not hesitate, and directly entered the watch computer. In an instant, after Skynet entered the computer, Tang Tian's brain waves were synchronized with the wristwatch, and he also released part of his memory, allowing Skynet to understand their current situation. Boss, the world you live in is really dangerous. It seems a bit difficult to get all 6 infinite gems. Skynet was very surprised. After checking it, he found that the Marvel world is a very complex and changeable world. It is really not easy to survive in that world. It's nothing. When I come to this world, I have no way out, so I can only become stronger. As long as you help me, I will also create a future that belongs to you. Tang Tian smiled confidently, not worried about his safety at all. By the way, use your ability to quickly transfer the funds in our world, and then I will exchange all the funds into gold, so that we don't have to worry about the research funds we spend in the Marvel world for a period of time. Tang Tian made a good calculation. Using his strengthened intelligence during this time, he could easily make a lot of money from the stock market, and waiting to realize it was the best idea. Understood, boss. As you wish, I will finish all this within 3 days. Skynet said bluntly that the green codes began to circulate continuously, and Tang Tian's plan was officially launched. New York City, Manhattan area, Tang Tian's private villa. Following a flash of white light, Tang Tian returned to the main world with a calm expression on his face. After experiencing the journey of the super body world, his intelligence has reached a very high level. Possibly, even Tony Stark, who has been cursed by knowledge, probably cannot be his opponent. Tang Tian has this confidence. After returning to this world, Tang Tian didn't hesitate, went into the bathroom to take a shower, ate a takeaway meal, and took a good night's sleep to relieve the fatigue of the journey. The next day, Tang Tian slept until around 10 o'clock, packed up briefly, and then took a private car to Osborne Industry. He just came to his office, and within a few minutes of sitting down, Norman Osborn pushed open the door, walked in excitedly, and looked at Tang Tian in front of him with a smile on his face. Mr. Tang Tian, thank you for coming. During this period of time, a lot of things have happened in Osborne Industries, but with your help, the company has gradually received orders. Norman looked at Tang Tian happily, and felt that with his appearance, Osborne Industries had been given a new lease of life, and it could be said that it was getting better and better. It's nothing, Mr. Norman, I just did what I should do. Since it's for the company, then I think what I did should be very correct. You don't have to praise me like this. Tang Tian shook his head, acting very modest, and Norman couldn't help but feel even more happy. After reminiscing with him for a while, he finally left his office. Then, Tang Tian sat on his seat, slowly read through various documents, and dealt with various transactions with the military, as well as some transactions with Tucker Industries. Crunch. Surprisingly, at the critical moment of Tang Tian's work, the door of his room was pushed open again, and it was his bodyguard Xiao En who walked in, which made him a little puzzled. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible for his bodyguards to enter his room without approval. Unexpectedly, Sean violated this law and walked straight in front of him. Facing Sean, who rushed over suddenly, Deadpool didn't hesitate at all, his eyes showed vigilance, and he put a knife on Sean's neck. Wait, Deadpool, he's my bodyguard, let's see what he wants from me. Tang Tian was very confused. He didn't know why Xiao En was so fanciful that he appeared in front of him without his consent. No, boss, he is not your bodyguard now. His consciousness has been occupied by another person. Compared with this, you should let him explain in person, what is your purpose? Deadpool said sternly, not as if joking, and looked at Sean in front of him warily. Occupy consciousness, Professor X. Hearing Deadpool's explanation, Tang Tian also came to his senses. Thinking of the famous mutant leader, he immediately looked at Xiao En in the distance calmly. Professor Charles Zervis, I didn't expect you to appear in front of me in person and occupy the consciousness of my bodyguard. What do you want me to do? If you want to fight, please do it. If it's something else, I can talk to you. You talk about it. Tang Tian said unhurriedly. Anyway, he didn't remember where he offended Professor X, so asking him carefully was also a correct choice. Hello, Mr. Tang Tian, I'm Charles. I didn't come to you this time to fight, but to thank you. The monster in New York City was implanted with mutant genes. Fortunately, you stopped it in time. It didn't make this disaster worse, so I want to chat with you. I don't know if Mr. Tang Tian has time. Professor X asked Tang Tian in a relaxed tone, without any intention of embarrassing him. Okay, where is the location? I'll go over and talk to you right away. Tang Tian looked at Professor X with an extremely serious expression, and asked thoughtfully. Of course, Tang Tian also thought about cooperating with mutants. If he doesn't mind, he can help mutants a little bit, so it's no problem for Professor X to become friends with him. On the other side, when Tang Tian first came into contact with Professor X, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Alexander Pierce, came to a club full of feasting, with a mysterious smile on his face. As a core member of the Hydra organization, Alexander Pierce has been running back and forth for the rise of the Hydra organization, constantly strengthening its own strength. This time, after Tang Tian emerged, the Hydra organization also had a premonition of a crisis. In addition, with the appearance of Iron Man and Spider-Man, the Hydra organization is very clear that if it does not take any action on its own side, there will only be more and more superheroes, and the survival range of the Hydra organization will also be continuously compressed. Soon after entering the headquarters of the nightclub, Alexander Pierce, right at the center of the stage, saw a hot woman and gave him a wink. Is it Mr. Pierce? My name is White Queen, Emma. You are here to find Mr. Xiao, right? Emma looked at Pierce and asked thoughtfully. That's right, please take me there. I want to have a good talk with Mr. Xiao. I think you, the Hellfire Club, will definitely want to have a good talk with me. Pierce smiled indifferently, and stopped talking. Emma was also very witty, so she didn't say anything more. Afterwards, the two of them appeared in a basement, and a handsome man in a black suit appeared directly in front of Pierce. Alexander Pierce, a member of the Hydra organization, what do you want from me? Hai Wangshao looked at this guy with doubts on his face, obviously a little inconceivable. He didn't know why Hydra organized this group of lunatics, so they came to him. I want to negotiate a business with the Hellfire Club. As long as you help me meet this requirement, our Hydra organization can help Mr. Xiao and make mutants rise. Pierce didn't talk nonsense, straight to the point and said the content of the transaction, looking at the mutant in front of him and said. In fact, the situation of mutants is now three-legged. Among them, Shaw's Hellfire Club is in the neutral position, Professor Charles is in the position of being kind to humans, and Magneto's side is the extreme mutant force. Originally, Xiao wanted the rise of mutants during the Cold War, but the rise of Professor X and Magneto shattered Xiao's dream, so Pierce wanted to give him a chance. Okay, I promise you this request, tell me who the person I killed is, right? Let me see if he is worthy of being killed by me. Hai Wangshao smiled confidently, his fingers touched the power supply, and a burst of lightning energy was absorbed by him, reappearing in his hand, jumping non-stop, like a jumping silver snake. Tang Tian, the major shareholder of Osborne Industries, he is a person targeted by our Hydra organization, and he is also an obstacle for you to rule the human world, so whether it is for us or for you, you must kill him. Pierce said inductively. He was very eager for Black Emperor Xiao to kill Tang Tian. No problem, remember what you said, I promise you, just do this well. Hai Wangshao was not surprised at all. He glanced at Pierce next to him, and finally agreed to the deal. Anyway, it would not do him any harm. With its characteristics of absorbing energy and rebounding energy, ordinary enemies would pack up in front of him, just like playing. Simple. It was with absolute strength that Hai Wangshao was sure of victory, and he took over the task entrusted to him by the Hydra organization. In New York City, at the gate of Zervis Academy for Genius Boys, a black car stopped steadily, and Tang Tian and Deadpool got off it. Boss, this is the headquarters of mutants. I feel that with your strength, there is no need to contact them. These mutants are right. Deadpool complained that as a man-made mutant, he still regards himself as a human being in his heart, so naturally he didn't want to go in. One more friend, one more road, so make friends with these mutants. It must be the right choice. Tang Tian shook his head and walked towards the gate without saying much. Okay then, boss, the world is big, and you are the biggest. I will execute the order according to your requirements. Deadpool didn't care much, looking at Tang Tian. Anyway, his boss wanted to go crazy, so he could only risk his life to accompany the gentleman. As a result, when they came to the door, a white-haired black girl looked at the two of them with a surprised look. Is it Mr. Tang Tian? The black girl asked softly, looking very polite. Of course, it's me. You're a student of Professor Charles, aren't you? Tang Tian glanced at the girl and knew that the girl was Storm Aurora. Yes, my name is Aurora, Professor, he is waiting for you in the classroom. I will take you there. Aurora didn't hesitate, and acted as a guide, leading them to the depths of the school. Along the way, various mutants with grotesque abilities displayed their abilities, giving Tang Tian the feeling of entering another world. Soon, led by Storm Aurora, they came to a classroom, and Charles's voice came from inside. We are mutants with innate superpowers, but we can't have a sense of superiority among us, otherwise, maybe we will cause trouble to the world and turn us into tyrants because of our selfish desires. So all of us use your abilities reasonably, and don't cause trouble for others. On the podium, Professor Charles, with a big bald head, looked at these students kindly, and his eyes were full of love. For him, these little mutants are still the future of mutants. If they are trained well, mutants will have a real future. However, what surprised Tang Tian was that there were students in their teens and students in their 20s in the school. It looked like a mixed classroom, teaching the same class. After thinking about it, Tang Tian was not surprised, because after leaving this school, these mutants would be discriminated against innumerably, so Charles would naturally arrange it this way. Wait, Professor, I have a question. I really don't understand why we have to follow human laws. Obviously we have the power to destroy all the current order. Pyro raised his hand and said aggressively. Since becoming a mutant, the partner has always had a mutant supremacy idea. He doesn't think that some ordinary humans can be equal to mutants. No, we don't need to destroy the order. The current order is not bad, isn't it? Besides, even if we think about destroying the order, why don't our descendants think so? So the real future of mutants cannot indulgent. We should truly tolerate others so that we can grow up thoroughly and live in peace with human beings. Professor Charles was not angry at all, and explained the relationship between humans and mutants in detail, so his attitude was considered very good. Then Professor, if you say this, did you feel impulsive when you were young? The Iceman on the side looked at Professor Charles curiously and asked a key question. That's right, that's why I educate everyone not to be too impulsive, to control their own power reasonably, and not to be controlled by power. Professor Charles explained to the Iceman in front of him with an extremely serious expression. Not far away, Aurora watched Professor X teaching, and looked at Tang Tian beside him boredly, wanting to understand why their beloved professor asked an outsider to come in. Moreover, the guy next to Tang Tian who was dressed a little strangely and carried 2 knives made Aurora feel a little uncomfortable. Obviously he didn't like this guy very much. By the way, Mr. Tang Tian, are you a mutant? Aurora didn't know Tang Tian's identity yet, so he couldn't help asking. No, I'm a purebred human, but I have a very special power. For example, it's like this. Tang Tian smiled lightly, his face brimming with brilliance. He casually raised his hand, and a cloud of lightning storm appeared in his palm. It's great. I can also create lightning when I use my ability. I didn't expect that your strength is so powerful, sir. It seems that you are not a mutant, so you must be a superhero. Aurora is also very happy, and doesn't think there is any difference between superheroes and mutants. At least, in Aurora's eyes, the similarity between superheroes and mutants is the highest, so he took it for granted and accepted Tang Tian's identity. Aurora, if you don't mind, use your ability. Let me see the power of mutants. From the beginning to the end, I haven't really seen the power of mutants yet. Tang Tian asked curiously, wanting to see how powerful these mutants are. Moreover, using chakra to scan the traces of the mutant's energy movement will definitely have a great effect. Let him know the level of strength of the 3rd level mutant, and roughly to what extent. In an instant, Aurora, who had received Tang Tian's request, without any hesitation, his pupils turned off white, and an invisible air flow was brewing, obviously the power of the storm. Enough is enough, stop. The moment Aurora exerted his power, Tang Tian used his eyes of reincarnation to roughly understand that the strength of a 3rd level mutant was relatively relaxed. According to Tang Tian's perception, the combat power of the 3rd level mutants is not very strong, and they can reach the level of the elite Junin, which is considered a high profile. In addition, most mutants can be said to be full of muscles, and they can't use their abilities reasonably and optimize their strength, so their combat effectiveness is not very strong. No wonder, in the years that mutants wanted to rise, they were interrupted again and again, and there was no possibility of success even once, which made him feel very speechless. Perhaps, knowing that mutants can't get rid of and go to success, so Professor X's philosophy is to integrate into human beings, and ultimately achieve peace. During the conversation, a spiritual force flew towards Tang Tian at an extremely fast speed, obviously wanting to perceive his memory. Even the dead waiter beside him was not spared. However, Tang Tian is not an easy character to mess with. When he felt the arrival of spiritual power, his left eye showed the eye of reincarnation, and a strong coercion directly bounced away Professor Charles's mental power. Up. Hee, old fox, I can't sit still anymore. It's really useless to know my origin. For Charles's mental power scan, before coming, Tang Tian was already mentally prepared, so he wouldn't have any unexpected thoughts. Immediately afterwards, when Tang Tian finished thinking, Aurora seemed to have received some order, and looked at Tang Tian in front of him with apologetic expression, and looked at him with a helpless expression. I'm sorry, Mr. Tang Tian, the professor asked me to find a living room to receive you. You also treat you as a distinguished guest well. I didn't expect to bring you here directly before, and made you wait a while. I'm really sorry. Aurora looked apologetic, he was reminded by Charles just now, asking him to take the guests to the living room to wait. It's nothing, I'm a guest, so I should wait. Tang Tian smiled softly and stopped talking. Instead, he followed Storm to the living room and waited again. Ring bell bell. After waiting for about 5 minutes, the bell rang for the end of get out of class, and the students seemed to be liberated. Like birds, they quickly started playing happily in the whole college. Thanks to Professor Charles's rich family property, these huge schools can be regarded as a safe haven for these mutants, so that they can grow up healthy without being discriminated against. After a while, Professor X came slowly into the living room with a man wearing red sunglasses, and showed him a gentle smile. Guests from afar, welcome to Xavier Academy for Genius Boys. Your presence may change the future for mutants, so I am very happy for your presence. Professor X hung up, making people feel a smile like a spring breeze. Miao Zhan, Professor, I haven't done anything yet, and I don't know if I can change the future of mutants. Besides, I don't know. Professor, what is your purpose in coming to me? From the beginning to the end, Tang Tian was not very clear about Professor X's purpose. His purpose of approaching Professor X was very simple, that is, to rely on the mutant forces behind him. As for Professor X, he really didn't know what the other party's request was. If he was asked to make a proposal to General Ross to raise the status of mutants, it might be impossible for him to agree. At least, now mutants are discriminated against and occupy a dominant position. If mutants start to make changes like superheroes, punishing evil and promoting good, then maybe there is a possibility of changing. It's very simple, young man, I want to change the living environment of the mutants. I know that in your hands, you control the Osborn industry, and you have connections with the military and S.H.I.E.L.D., so I ask you to assist me in changing the mutants. I am willing to pay any price for my future. Professor X's face was sincere. Maybe he had pinned all his hopes on Tang Tian, and then relied on his power to gradually change his status as a mutant. Well, I can promise you. But changing the status of mutants is a completely subtle process. During this process, I think mutants should be like superheroes, start their journey to fight crime. Tang Tian looked at Professor X seriously, and taught him some methods. Immediately, with Tang Tian's reminder, the light in Professor X's eyes became brighter and brighter, and he clearly knew that with Tang Tian's help, the future of mutants would be hopeful. Okay, I promise you this request. If you have any other requests, I can complete the transaction with you. Professor X was also unambiguous. He knew that he had to pay for what he got, so he wanted to see what benefits Tang Tian needed. Seeing Professor X's straightforwardness, Tang Tian raised the corners of his mouth slightly, showing a hearty smile, and said what he wanted. Professor, please sort out the blood of the mutants above the 3rd level of the academy, number them, and then hand them over to Osborn Industries. I think the blood of these mutants will be of great help to me, so as to optimize the mutants' blood. Jean. Hearing Professor X's words, Tang Tian asked without hesitation. No problem, I will finish sorting out the next day. Please rest assured, what do you want? I can give you all these things. These are also mutants. There are not many, and there are valuable things. Professor X naturally knew that Tang Tian did this for research, but he had no way out now. Ever since Abomination showed the ability of mutation, the situation of mutants has become more and more difficult. For this, Professor X doesn't mind paying a little more, which is also the price that must be paid to keep the mutants alive. In a luxurious bar in New York City, Tang Tian and Deadpool came here. Looking at the feasting scene, there was a wry smile in their eyes. Originally, after reaching a cooperation with the mutants, Tony Stark couldn't wait to call himself to this bar, saying that he wanted to have a drink with him before they had time to consolidate their relationship. Oh, it's that playboy again, it's really boring, boss. Deadpool stared helplessly at his boss, not knowing what to say. Don't say that, he's a superhero after all. So there's no harm in being friends with him. Tang Tian's expression remained unchanged, and he said with a chuckle at the corner of his mouth. While they were talking, at the door of the bar, a man in a rather flirtatious bag blew a whistle as soon as he came in, and looked around the upper-class people smartly, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, like stars holding the moon, walked in. Almost, as soon as Tony came, everyone's eyes were on him, and they greeted this playboy one after another, wanting to get closer to Stark Industries. Mr. Stark, I haven't seen you for a long time. Mr. Stark, you are so cool. It's great to be Iron Man. The rest of the people watched Tony greet him directly, and the scene became lively for a while. Tang Tian stood aside and felt good watching this scene. Everyone, meeting by chance is worse than meeting by chance. Since everyone came to the bar to drink together today, I will reserve the place today. Everyone has a good time, so don't be polite to me. As soon as Tony came up, he waved his hand and surrounded the audience, causing the surrounding celebrities to nod their heads uncontrollably, lamenting Tony's wealth. What I have to say is that Tony doesn't usually talk much, but when he speaks, he is definitely humorous, so Tony's staff is also very good, much better than the average person. Especially in the United States, the status is even more important. You may feel good about him when you see him at first sight. This is the first impression of Tony. After the rich and powerful booked the venue, Tony came to Tang Tian with a cheap smile on his face, and said to him in a thoughtful tone. Haha, brother, you are finally here. I thought it would take a while for you to come, but I didn't expect you to come back on time. Tony patted Tang Tian on the shoulder, snapped his fingers, and a waiter beside him brought over 2 glasses of vodka and added several ice cubes. Of course, when I'm done with my work, I will come here without stopping. You are my brother. We have such a good relationship. How could I alienate you? Quote. Tang Tian smiled softly, picked up the vodka, and took a sip. Suddenly, while they were talking, 2 sudden gazes swept towards the two of them, as if someone was staring at them. Turning his head, Tang Tian found 2 people staring at them, a white man in black and a woman in white. Black Emperor Sha, Emma the White Queen. Seeing these 2 people for the first time, Tang Tian's eyes were a little surprised. He never expected that these 2 mutants would appear here, and looked at them with a strange look. Has a problem. This word came to Tang Tian's mind, and just as he was about to see what the hell they were doing, the 2 mutants came slowly, raised their wine glasses in the same way, walked towards them step by step with smiles on their faces. Mr. Tang Tian, and Mr. Tony, how are you? Hai Wangshao smiled slightly, and when he approached them less than 3 meters away, a ball of flame energy appeared in Hai Wangshao's hand, and he threw it towards the 2 of them without thinking. Not good. After discovering that something was wrong, Tang Tian immediately reacted, and an electromagnetic barrier was formed in front of him, protecting him and Tony. Boom! With a sound, the huge explosive air blasted a hole in the surrounding area, and the celebrities nearby also vomited blood and fainted very unluckily. After the gunpowder smoke cleared, He Huangshao and White Queen were taken aback. They never expected that the close-range explosive attack just now did not cause any damage to them. Mr. Tang Tian, it's really interesting. It's worthwhile for us to find this place ourselves, please come with us. Otherwise, this place will immediately become ruins. As he said that, Hai Wangshao opened his hand, and a terrifying flame energy was brewed in his hand. As a mutant with the ability to absorb energy, He Huangshao's ability has reached level 4, and ordinary people are really not qualified to be his enemy. As for Emma, the White Queen, her abilities are not simple. She is also a level 4 mutant with telepathy and the ability to turn into diamonds, and her combat effectiveness can be considered super strong. Although Tang Tian didn't have the slightest fear in the face of the attacks of these 2 mutants, he still had to do this for the safety of Tony around him. Okay, I also want to know what confidence you have to attack me and Tony. Don't you know what price you will pay? Tang Tian readily agreed to the request of the 2 mutants, and by the way, glanced at Deadpool beside him, signaling him to stay and protect Tony and others. Wait, brother, don't follow them, be careful of their ambush. Tony was a little worried, thinking that these 2 mutants must have some kind of conspiracy, and he didn't want his brother to fall into their trap. Hearing Tony's words, Tang Tian's heart warmed up, and he responded with a confident tone, "Don't worry, Tony, anyone who wants to kill me has never been born in this life. If you dare to make trouble, I will definitely get rid of them." Then, under Tony's reluctant gaze, Tang Tian came outside the bar and appeared in front of a small alley. When he reached the end, Tang Tian stopped and looked at the 2 people in front of him with cold eyes. "You shouldn't offend me. The person who threatened me just now hasn't been born yet." Tang Tian looked at the two with a blank expression, and raised his right hand lightly, and two balls of lightning appeared in his hand, and he threw them out casually. In an instant, the two of them were hit, but the Black Emperor Shao absorbed the energy of the lightning at the moment of the hit, and the White Queen Emma even used Diamond Transformation, perfectly resisting Tang Tian's attack. You are strong, but the two of us are not weak either. Is this battle just beginning to bring you here? Haiwang Shao sneered, and stomped hard on the ground with his feet full of energy. Immediately, an energy shock wave continuously spread along the soles of Tang Tian's feet, as if trying to engulf him. Shen Luo Tianzheng. Watching the Black Emperor's attack, Tang Tian's face remained unchanged, his left eye reincarnation emerged, Shen Luo Tianzheng activated, and all the energy was bounced away in an instant. Just after repelling Black Emperor Shao's attack, White Queen Emma also made a move. She showed her ability and instantly transformed into a silver-white diamond figure. Putting his palms together in one lunge, he stabbed Tang Tian in front of him with a sharp diamond hand knife, with the determination to kill him. Facing such an attack, Tang Tian turned on the power of the eyes of reincarnation to the strongest. The White Queen Emma only felt an invisible film, which stopped her in her footsteps, and even her body was constantly shaking. The sparks came out, obviously because of the extremely strong resistance. Good chance. Looking at the scene in front of him, Haiwang Shao showed a ferocious smile, and the energy in his hands was gathered to the maximum. When Tang Tian used his ability, he suddenly collided with his protective shield, detonating most of the energy he had absorbed. Energy. Boom. There was another deafening explosion, and the walls of the entire alley were blown apart. When the gunpowder smoke cleared, Tang Tian was still standing there intact, and the Black Emperor Shao and the White Queen were also not damaged at all. Monthly reading. Looking at these two difficult mutants, Tang Tian also frowned, and displayed his ability without hesitation. A powerful illusion made Haiwang Shao fall down. At this time, Tang Tian walked towards the White Queen step by step, wanting to get rid of this trouble directly, but the White Queen's face did not change at all. Instead she looked at him with a mocking expression. Our real target is not you, but your friend, Tony. It's a pity, if you go back one step later, maybe you won't be able to see him again. Sure enough, the White Queen's trump card was really useful. When Tang Tian came here, his expression became extremely angry. He took a deep look at the White Queen on one side, then turned around and left. Seeing Tang Tian leave, the White Queen also breathed a sigh of relief, holding the unconscious Black Emperor and leaving this place to prevent that killing god from coming again. Chapter 91. New York City, Manhattan area. After defeating Black Emperor Shao and White Queen Emma, Tang Tian understood that Hydra was using a strategy to divert the tiger away from the mountain, and attracted him out, taking advantage of this time gap to kidnap Tony. Although the reason why Hydra kidnapped Tony is still unknown, but it cannot be denied that Obade once made a deal with Hydra. Maybe Hydra organization is to fulfill the promise. Just as Tang Tian was speeding back, his cell phone vibrated, as if someone had called him, and when he took out his cell phone, he found that the caller was actually Deadpool. Boss, I have been attacked by many mutants here. Tony was captured by a group of men in black who broke in suddenly. If you have time, go and save Tony Stark. I can't spare it for the time being. Come. When Deadpool finished speaking, the gunshots became more intense, and the whirlwind sound of the tornado all indicated that Deadpool was in a hard fight. Hydra guys are really hard to guard against. Tang Tian cursed, then turned around and yelled at the destination and ran quickly. This time, he did not expect that the people from the Hydra organization would move so quickly. To this end, Tang Tian used the power of the Thunderbolt fruit to continuously stimulate the cells of his body, and he used chakra to move quickly. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the door of the bar. As soon as he came here, Tang Tian saw the entrance of the bar, and 5 black Hummers appeared in front of the entrance, directly blocking the place. I saw a dozen soldiers in black uniforms, gas masks, and assault rifles shooting into the bar, carrying out a comprehensive fire suppression. Looking at the militants in the distance, Tang Tian's expression remained unchanged, and he roared at these guys in a questioning tone. Stop, you guys, surrender now, or die. Tang Tian yelled at them domineeringly, waiting for their reaction. One must know that Tang Tian was not in a hurry to deal with them. With his strength, it was not an easy task to deal with a few small militants. Hearing Tang Tian's words, the Hydra soldiers who were shooting at the bar immediately stopped their movements. Some of the soldiers turned their guns to Tang Tian and released a crossfire net. Mere physical attacks are completely useless to me. Tang Tian shook his head, snapped his fingers, and those flying bullets were perfectly stopped by him. Looking at Tang Tian's strange ability, the Hydra soldiers naturally wouldn't sit still. They picked up the bazooka behind their hands, aimed at his position, and released a few rocket missiles. Super. Shenluo Tianzheng. Looking at these rockets and missiles, Tang Tian was expressionless. A stronger repulsive force field exploded all these rockets and missiles, spilling them into the air like fireworks. Even after Shenluo Tianzheng bounced off these attacks, these Hydra soldiers flew out without any loss of momentum, and fell heavily to the ground. Even their Humvees were blown aside. Suddenly, after Tang Tian defeated these Hydra soldiers, a vigorous figure suddenly appeared in front of him, looking at him with indifferent eyes. This person has flaxen hair, and his right hand is completely made of silver-white metal. His indifferent and cold gaze reveals a strong killing intent. Looking at it from a distance, Tang Tian knew that this guy was not simple, probably not an ordinary Hydra warrior, so she walked over step by step and looked at this guy with a blank expression. Who are you, and why did Hydra send you here? Tang Tian didn't take the lead, but looked at him with a stern look, trying to get the information he wanted. Generally speaking, supervillains generally have their own temperament, just like the man in front of them, which is beyond the reach of ordinary people. Even if it was the first time, when he confronted Dr. Lizard, his aura was not as strong as the man in front of him. Obviously, this guy definitely has a story. Tang Tian, who was thinking about this guy's background, hadn't figured it out yet. The man started to move, jumped up suddenly, and kicked him with a flying kick. Good come. Looking at this guy, he started to attack at the slightest disagreement. Tang Tian didn't plan to use his full strength, so he stayed with this guy and had a good time. Soon, the man's flying kick fell, and Tang Tian dodged slightly to avoid his attack. By the way, he raised his fist, took the huge chakra by himself, and slammed it on the guy's head. As if feeling something was wrong, the man raised his metal arm and collided with Tang Tian, but the moment they collided, Tang Seng found that the chakra in his hand was completely absorbed by the opponent's metal arm. Fortunately, Tang Tian's reaction was timely. Once again, he gathered chakras under his feet to avoid the man's counterattack. However, after fighting for a while, Tang Tian became very interested in this man. Hey, Skynet, enter the database of this world, and within 1 minute, get all the data of this guy. I want to have a good look at it. Tang Tian thoughtfully communicated with the computer on his wrist, and gave the order to Skynet. Understood, boss. Skynet accepted the order and quickly helped. Tang Tian started to check, trying to help him find clues about this guy. Of course, their battle did not stop during this period of time, but began to unfold gradually with a posture of evenly matched strength. Finally, 1 minute passed, Tang Tian repelled this guy, and Skynet also transmitted the data to his mind. The Winter Soldier, formerly known as Bucky, is a good friend of Captain America. During another mission, he was captured by the Hydra organization. After brainwashing, he became the top killer of the Hydra organization. He carried out more than 30 assassination missions. Even Howard Stark also died at his hands. After Skynet transmitted the Winter Soldier's information to him in detail, Tang Tian showed a hint of surprise in his eyes. He never expected that the guy he had fought against for so long was actually the Winter Soldier. What was even more unexpected was that the Winter Soldier's fighting skills were really good. He actually fought him evenly, and used the metal arm to absorb his own chakra to avoid harming him. Ding! Trigger the mission to stop Hydra's plot. After completion, reward the host with a chance to draw a lottery. Ding! This task is very difficult. I hope the host will completely solve the Hydra organization and members lurking in S.H.I.E.L.D. After Tang Tian learned about the Winter Soldier's information, the system in his mind gave him an order, which made his expressionless face reveal a smile. Hee, it's really interesting. I didn't expect the Hydra organization to come here to make trouble. Now I can get another chance to draw a lottery, so let me see how strong the Hydra organization is. A smile appeared at the corner of Tang Tian's mouth, and the Winter Soldier on one side still had no expression, like a robot, who had completely lost his mind, and just looked at him with cold eyes. This time, Tang Tian didn't find it strange to get the system mission by accident. The Hydra organization in the shadows was enough to make him afraid, but now it's on the bright side. It doesn't mean that he hasn't solved this organization. After learning the details of the Winter Soldier, Tang Tian was still very surprised. He thought that the Hydra organization would continue to hide in the dark, but he didn't expect it to be completely different from what he thought. This time, the Hydra organization not only took action, but also sent top assassins like the Winter Soldier. It can be said that during the 50 years, many celebrities were assassinated. The Winter Soldier was defeated. Winter Soldier, although I don't know who sent you here, it doesn't matter anymore. You have become my enemy, so for the sake of Captain America, I will spare your life a little bit. Tang Tian looked at the Winter Soldier unhurriedly, and challenged this assassin who was as indifferent as a robot. Regarding Tang Tian's words, the Winter Soldier remained expressionless most of the time, but when he heard the name Captain America, there was a slight emotional fluctuation in his originally cold eyes, but he quickly hid it back. It can be seen that the brainwashing technology of the Hydra organization has become so powerful that it can be regarded as the emotion has been completely removed, and it is like a robot performing various tasks of the Hydra organization. Looking at the Winter Soldier in front of him, Tang Tian also felt sad. He was obviously a superhero, but under the control of Hydra, he turned into a ruthless executioner, which made Tang Tian very sad. Pray, you talk too much nonsense, now I want you to die. The Winter Soldier didn't say a word from the beginning until now, but now that he recovered, he looked at him frantically with an emotionless tone. Let's talk if you can do it. These days, there are many people who want to kill me, but no one has succeeded. If you think your strength is strong enough, you can try it. Tang Tian shook his head. Anyone can say cruel words, but there are a few people who can really do it. Anyway, all the people who opposed him have already been defeated by him, not less than a Winter Soldier. Perhaps it was because Tang Tian's attitude was so bad that the Winter Soldier couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed towards him with an astonishing momentum. Along the way, the Winter Soldier fired first, and the bullets from the assault rifle shot at Tang Tian densely, but his expression remained unchanged, as steady as Mount Tai, and with a wave of his hand, he threw all the bullets elsewhere. After Tang Tian made a block, the Winter Soldier's speed was still not slow. He raised his Zhenjin arm again, and smashed at Tang Tian with all his strength. Lightning. Facing the vibrating gold arm of the Winter Soldier, Tang Tian naturally didn't dare to be careless, and gathered a powerful chakra with his backhand, colliding with the Winter Soldier's. Unexpectedly, the energy Tang Tian gathered this time was very strong, and the vibrating gold arm of the Winter Soldier instantly turned red, as if he had absorbed too much energy. However, before Tang Tian could show a relaxed smile, the Winter Soldier's armored arm, the position of the palm, suddenly gathered a huge amount of energy, and a red energy rushed towards him at high speed. How is it possible? How was this arm made? It has the same performance as Iron Man's armor. Looking at the attack of red energy, Tang Tian didn't dare to be careless, and directly used Shenluo Tianzheng to bounce off the incoming energy. In fact, the temporary change of the Winter Soldier's move really surprised Tang Tian. He originally thought that the vibrating gold arm of the Winter Soldier, no matter how powerful it was, would not be able to absorb all the energy. This arm has been transformed into high technology. It can be said that the Winter Soldier is already many times stronger than in the original book. Not only can it absorb energy, but it can even bounce energy back, causing trouble for the enemy, which makes Tang Tian very speechless. As if he knew that he had the advantage, the Winter Soldier's movements were not slow, and he launched a combo of attacks on Tang Tian like beating a dog in the water, trying to defeat this somewhat difficult enemy. Finally, after fighting against the Winter Soldier for a while, Tang Tian was a little bored, and felt that fighting against him was too boring, so he simply kept doing it, and his eyes turned into kaleidoscope Sharingans. Susano. Tang Tian thought lightly, and a huge sky blue Susano covered his whole body, and the huge bone claws ruthlessly patted the Winter Soldier in front of him. Sensing that something was wrong, the Winter Soldier rolled over and finally avoided the fatal blow, but just as soon as he dodged, a 5 or 6 meter deep pit was hit on the ground. The huge air flow made the Winter Soldier feel a little uncomfortable. Facing Tang Tian's sudden increase in strength, the Winter Soldier seemed a little unable to react in time, but he still reacted, so he took out a few grenades in his pocket and threw them towards Susano where he was. For a while, gunpowder smoke filled the air again, and the thick smoke also enveloped the surrounding area, but Tang Tian was still unscathed, and punched the Winter Soldier flying out. PFF'd. The Winter Soldier spat out a mouthful of blood, his stern face turned pale for the first time, and it was obvious that he had suffered serious injuries. When Tang Tian no longer hides his strength, the Winter Soldier's fighting skills are a joke, and his vibrating gold arm can only withstand a part of the huge force. After activating Susano's power, Tang Tian crushed Winter Soldier forcefully and severely injured him. Just as Tang Tian grabbed Winter Soldier, he was about to continue beating him up. Not far away, a whirlwind blew suddenly, collided fiercely on Susano, and another red figure, after hugging the Winter Soldier, turned into red smoke and appeared in front of him, far away. Feeling the strong airflow around him, it began to spin continuously. Tang Tian frowned and looked towards the attacker's position. Taking a closer look, Tang Tian discovered that the attackers were two mutants of Hellfire, namely the Red Devil with spatial abilities, and Riptide who manipulated the tornado. Among them, Riptide even grabbed Tony Stark's neck, looked at him with a sneer. Immediately, Tang Tian stopped. His face was very ugly, thinking that he was about to win, but there was such an obstacle, it really made him a little depressed. You lost, Tang Tian. These are the plans of our Hellfire Club and Hydra. Tony Stark has already fallen into our hands. You can't just go back to him. He is very important to the Hydra organization. Is it of great value? Rui Lu looked smug, thinking that even his boss could not defeat his opponent, but after he caught Tony Stark, he made the opponent beware and lost the possibility of attacking. Let it go, Tony Stark. I can let you go, otherwise you will never be able to escape here smoothly. Trust me, I am not a joker. As he said that, Tang Tian used the shadow avatar, only to reveal 4 people exactly like himself, and 4 black iron rods fell into the surroundings. 4 purple flame formation. In less than 3 seconds, a purple barrier appeared in their area. Seeing that something was wrong, the Red Devil grabbed the Winter Soldier and wanted to teleport away from here. However, in the process of his teleportation, when he touched his barrier, he was directly bounced away. Even if he wanted to attack, it was useless, and he fell to the ground miserably. Ah, it's so hot. After being attacked by the enchantment, the Red Devil shook his arm and looked at Tang Tian in the distance with a shocked face. He did not expect that the other party was so calm and easily found a solution to the problem. Suddenly, Tony Stark, who was being strangled by the neck, opened his eyes and looked at the confrontation scene in front of them, still somewhat inconceivable. Asshole, let me go quickly. Otherwise, none of you will be able to leave here smoothly. Tony struggled desperately, but the torrent was a little upset, and suddenly slapped Tony's face off fiercely, looking at him with a disdainful tone and said, "Don't think about resisting, otherwise, you will die." Riptide was very angry, and after slapping Tony, he saw the Red Devil again. Red Devil, do you have a way to escape from this place? What is that lair outside? Even you cannot escape. Rapids was very surprised and wanted to leave here urgently, so he looked at the Red Devil in front of him and asked seriously. I don't know, but this place is completely sealed, and even my spatial ability can't penetrate it, so I can only find another way. The Red Devil shook his head, expressing that he was helpless. For this reason, Juliu was also very angry. He felt that he seemed to have stayed here for too long just now. If he had left earlier, he would not be able to get up and down like he is now. HMPH, what do you want? How can we let us go? Lei Lu glanced at the Winter Soldier beside him, thinking of their cooperation with the Hydra organization, so he asked Tang Tian. Hehe, it's very simple. Then you released Tony Stark. Only in this way can I release you with confidence, so do you understand? Tang Tian said his request expressionlessly. For him, it will take some time before the mission is over, so it is okay to let the people of Hellfire Club live for a while. Okay, then I will listen to you. I hope you will keep your word. The Rapids had no choice but to separate Tony Stark from his hands. Tang Tian didn't talk nonsense, and dispelled the 4 purple flame formation, allowing the group of guys to retreat. Almost the moment he was freed, Tony felt a little puzzled, came to Tang Tian in confusion, and asked him in surprise. I'm sorry, brother, I was caught by him. We shouldn't let them go, maybe they will cause some trouble again. Tony was very guilty and felt that he let these villains escape and it was all his fault. It's nothing, I didn't expect that the Hydra organization would join hands with the Hellfire Club. It's just one organization. Then I can deal with it very well, but facing several organizations, I feel a little powerless. Quote. Tang Tian didn't feel helpless. Anyway, for him, what he was doing was a mission, and it didn't matter if he let the other party escape when he was there, just keep cleaning up. At night, Tang Tian's private villa. After dealing with the turmoil caused by the Hydra organization and the Hellfire Club, Tang Tian finally had time to rest, so he leaned back on the chair, closed his eyes and meditated. Deadpool stood on the side, staying close to each other, protecting his boss from the attackers. Crunch. Suddenly, the door of Tang Tian's bedroom was pushed open. Serena walked in slowly in black tights, and appeared in front of Tang Tian. Boss, I heard that you were looking for us. Is there something we need to deal with? Serena was very surprised. During this period of time, they were silent for a while. Tang Tian never sent them to perform any missions. He unexpectedly found her tonight. It seemed that some important mission appeared. That's right, I was attacked this time, and it was still the Hydra organization. So I ordered the Super Warrior Legion to find the stronghold of the Hydra organization, and destroy all the strongholds that can be found, which is my revenge. Speaking of this, Tang Tian threw over a few pieces of information, which marked the strongholds of the Hydra organization in detail. Except for the most important stronghold, there is also the headquarters of the Hydra organization that cannot be found, and most of the remaining strongholds have been found out by Skynet. This time, being attacked by the Hydra organization, Tang Tian couldn't swallow it at all, so it didn't seem too difficult to seek his own super soldier unit to avenge himself. Understood, boss, please rest assured, I will definitely uproot the stronghold of the Hydra organization. Serena smiled softly, her eyes filled with infinite coldness. Since she dared to offend her boss, then these super fighters would naturally not let the enemy go easily. After sending out his trump card, Tang Tian didn't say much, and went back to his room to rest. Until the next day, Deadpool bought a newspaper from the Bugle Daily according to Tang Tian's request, and handed it to the in front of Tang Tian. After receiving the newspaper, the headline on it was unusually eye-catching, and it still had a sense of ambition. New York City, accidental explosions occurred in multiple locations. After verification, the results are not yet known. The relevant departments have carried out full-scale investigations. Boss, our people have used the military's relationship to erase all these clues, so please rest assured that those strongholds of the Hydra organization have been eradicated by us on a large scale. Deadpool reported the situation in detail, and Tang Tian also showed a happy smile on his face, making that mouse-like organization feel like fighting against itself. This is the price in the end. Very good. From the looks of it, it has really achieved effective results. This is very good, and this is the fate of Hydra's offense against me. Tang Tian was very satisfied. After beating up the Hydra organization, he was already in a good mood. He didn't mind adding another fire to the Hydra organization. These guys were sent to hell. By the way, boss, when our team Hydra took action, something happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it is necessary to report to you. After all, you are also a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. Suddenly, Deadpool seemed to think of something, stared at Tang Tian in front of him, and said to him with a serious expression. What's the matter? Just say it. Tang Tian waved his hand and became interested. He didn't know what Deadpool would tell him, so he was still very surprised. Look at this, boss. To put it simply, it is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, who is wanted and charged with betraying the United States. Deadpool handed over the newspaper, which surprised Tang Tian. After carefully looking at the contents, he finally showed a strange smile. Hee, it looks like the Hydra group really can't bear it anymore. Now it's time to confront them. Tang Tian's face was calm, and he didn't feel surprised. When he acted, it is estimated that the Hydra organization also began to act according to the requirements and started to act separately. After thinking about it, in the original movie, the Hydra organization also started to act at this time, preparing to completely control the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization and launch their proud Insight Plan. Of course, the so-called Insight Plan is quite nonsense in some respects. It uses Dr. Zola's algorithm to identify people who may pose a threat to this world, including Doctor Strange. It is also within the cleanup scope of the Hydra organization, and the crazy plan of the Hydra organization is also a plan to eliminate all superheroes and prepare for world domination. So, boss, now that the Hydra organization has been dispatched, so what position are we in? Should we help S.H.I.E.L.D., or continue to stop the Hydra organization? Deadpool was puzzled, waiting for an order from his boss, so he looked at his boss, waiting for an order. Of course, continue to stop Hydra. This once prosperous organization should also pay some price. Tang Tian clenched his fists tightly and gave the order. Early the next morning, Tang Tian got up early and was about to go to work at Osborne Industry, but before he had gone far, Coulson stopped his car, covered his face, and suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Mr. Tang Tian, Director Nick has something to ask you for. May I ask if you have time now? Let's find a place to have a good conversation. Coulson spoke sincerely. He looked around and found no one else, so he finally said with a sigh of relief. Yes, I think you are around. You should be watching the Hydra organization. I know what happened. Now take me to your director. Tang Tian waved his hand, with extremely calm eyes, motioning for Coulson to take him there. Immediately afterwards, under the leadership of Coulson, they came to a remote unfinished building, where they saw a somewhat embarrassed Nick Fury and Captain America in uniform. Nick, it's been a long time. I didn't expect you to become a wanted criminal now. I paid a lot to see you. Tang Tian jokingly said to Nick that he seemed surprised by his current situation, so he made a small joke. No way, the people of the Hydra organization are hard to defend against. I think you should have experienced that the Hydra organization is difficult to deal with, and they have collusion with the Hellfire Club, and they seem to be working on a big plan. Nick Fury frowned, his eyes full of worry. Now that the Hydra organization is no longer hiding, it may not be long before they will take action without hesitation. Disrupting New York is the current environment. I understand that I have found one of his main bases, and that base seems to have something to do with Alexander Pierce, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I will go there to investigate and return you to freedom as soon as possible. Tang Tian looked at Nick Fury, and made his own promise. It was considered as a face for S.H.I.E.L.D., and also gave him the benefits that S.H.I.E.L.D. had given him back then. Then please be careful, I am also integrating the remaining agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and preparing to launch a counterattack against the Hydra organization, so I hope you can cooperate with me. Nick Fury persuaded, looking at Tang Tian in front of him, he made a plan. Okay, just take one step at a time and wait for the moment when we have the advantage, that is when we launch a counterattack. For now, let me conduct a careful investigation first. You don't have to worry about the rest of the matter for the time being. After Tang Tian made detailed arrangements, he already had his own countermeasures. After a while, they discussed a rough plan, and Coulson and Nick Fury also left readily after receiving Tang Tian's assurance. After thinking about it, Tang Tian took out his phone and dialed Tony Stark's number, planning to ask him to do something, and wanted to rely on Iron Man's help. Hey, brother, what can I do for you? Is there anything I need to do? Tony still said with a smile. He seemed to be in a good mood, no more, the feeling of being attacked a few days ago. It's very simple, you contact Spider-Man, and I will find the Punisher. I am looking for the weakness of the organization that attacked you. As long as we find it, we will kill the Hydra organization with a fatal blow. Tang Tian made a long story short, said his suggestion, and waited for Tony's reply. Yes, brother, I agree to your request, just do it like this. Those fools dared to kidnap me, so you must pay the price. Tony hung up the phone viciously, and the smile on Tang Tian's face became more and more intense. Next, it was time for him to face the base of the Hydra organization. At the same time, Tang Tian also wanted to see the capabilities of this organization hiding in the shadows. It was able to recover quickly after World War II. These should require a little foundation, so Tang Tian can guarantee that the Hydra organization, the rise of the S.H.I.E.L.D. must have something to do with the founder of S.H.I.E.L.D. It seems that the game has become more exciting, so I shouldn't miss this game. Tang Tian smiled and said nothing. He already had a general method to fight against the enemy. This time, he gathered the strength of the superheroes, plus his own super soldier troop. He should clean up a Hydra organization without too much trouble. On the outskirts of New York City, outside a villa, Tang Tian and Deadpool came here. Looking at such a lonely villa, their eyes did not change at all, and they walked towards the gate step by step. This is the villa. This is the main stronghold of the Hydra. We must be careful to avoid any tricks from the Hydra organization. Tang Tian reminded, but Deadpool didn't have such worries. With his immortal ability, he wasn't afraid of any plots by the Hydra organization at all. Don't worry, boss, I will protect you with all my might. I won't let anyone hurt you. Deadpool made a promise and said confidently. Then, the two came to the door of the villa, and Deadpool pierced the door lock with a knife, and kicked the door open with one kick. I saw that the living room of the villa has everything that one expects to find. The old-fashioned leather sofa, black and white TV, and antique dining table all prove that this family is nostalgic. Whoa, that guy Alexander Pierce is quite romantic, and he actually likes such old antiques. Deadpool smiled contemptuously. Looking at the arrangement here, he didn't feel anything special. It was completely different from the legendary Dark Hydra base. No, Wilson, some things can't just be seen on the surface. Since I have obtained detailed information, it is definitely not simple here. Maybe what we see is just a cover. Tang Tian shook his head. He knew very well that the Hydra organization is an organization that is good at disguising. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible to stick out its fangs until the critical moment. After thinking about it, the two of them began to search for the secret passage nearby, and Tang Tian even used chakra to sense, trying to find clues of Hydra. Soon, according to Tang Tian's exploration, he finally found an iron door on the floor, which seemed to be the entrance to the basement, which made Tang Tian smile. It seems that these mice really have a secret base, so underestimate them. Tang Tian showed a surprised expression, then quickly recovered, and followed Deadpool to the depths step by step. At this moment, Tang Tian felt that he was in a dark and narrow passage without any lighting equipment, and the air still had a musty smell. It can be seen that no one has come to this secret base for a while, otherwise if you enter this base, you will probably be attacked by Hydra fighters head-on. Along the way, Tang Tian looked calm, using chakra to sense the surroundings carefully. Only the breathing of the two of them could be heard in the passage. Other than that, everything was quiet. It seemed that there was no one around. Finally, after walking for a while in the dark, Tang Tian and Deadpool came to an empty space. Before Tang Tian could use his ability to illuminate this place, a light suddenly flickered not far away. In an instant, the white light illuminated the secret base. When the light appeared, Tang Tian saw the central area, where more than a dozen computers were placed, one of which was a well-known supercomputer. You must know that supercomputers generally only exist in large organizations. I did not expect that the Hydra organization can even get this. It can be seen that the energy of the Hydra organization has reached an incomparable level. It's not good. It's very bad. It seems that someone has already known that we will come here, so they made an empty plan for us. Looking at the computer in front of him, Tang Tian thought thoughtfully. But, boss, there may be something wrong. Deadpool shook his head, thought for a while, and said in a firm tone, if the people of the Hydra organization really think we will come, why don't they set up an ambush here? This is a good place to kill us. Quote, I don't know. We don't know the current situation. However, there is a computer here, which may allow Skynet to investigate and find some clues. Looking at the computer in front of him, Tang Tian also had a smile on his face, and decided to use his artificial intelligence to understand the situation. Skynet, hack this computer for me, I want to find out. What information will the Hydra organization leave behind? The order given by Tang Tian ordered the artificial intelligence he cultivated to search for all the clues. Understood, boss. Skynet, which received the order, opened up its firepower and used remote transmission to enter this supercomputer. Unexpectedly, when Skynet was just about to attack, something unexpected happened. Only the supercomputer in the distance could be seen, and it started up automatically strangely. Ha ha ha, it's really an interesting enemy. It's really interesting that I personally led you to this place. After the supercomputer started, from nowhere came weird laughter and confusing words. Here, the voice comes from here. As soon as Deadpool's eyes moved, he threw out the adamant alloy knife casually. Not far away, a voice-activated horn was pierced by the knife, and there was a scorched smell. It's really boring. I didn't expect you to bring bodyguards, which is really disappointing, but it doesn't matter, you will be buried here one day. At this time, the supercomputer made a sound again. Tang Tian's eyes were fixed, and he didn't know that the sound just now should be caused by this computer. Are you the artificial intelligence created by the Hydra organization? Tang Tian frowned and asked rationally. No, artificial intelligence is really weak in my eyes. I am a digital life with thoughts and life, and my understanding has reached the level of philosophy. His contemptuous voice came from the supercomputer's speaker, which made Tang Tian understand that this guy should be difficult to deal with. It's really shameless. Don't you think it's ridiculous to think that you are a digital life just because you have initially controlled intelligence? In my opinion, the so-called Hydra organization is nothing more than that, and it may be completely destroyed by me in the end. Yes, there is not even a chance of a comeback. Tang Tian's tone was exceptionally cold, and he decided to teach the Hydra organization a harsh lesson. It's ridiculous, Tang Tian, although you are very powerful, in my eyes, you are like a child. Now you can find this place, it is all a scheme arranged by me, everything about you is in the palm of my hand heart. The unknown artificial intelligence said in a mocking tone. It seemed that he didn't think Tang Tian had the possibility of making a comeback, so his tone became even more contemptuous. So, since you already feel that you have the chance to win, tell me. What is your purpose? Let me know if you die. Tang Tian said casually, showing the enemy his weakness, and wanted to get key clues from him to see what the other party's purpose was. Ha ha ha, it's okay to tell you, anyway, the era of superheroes is coming to an end, we are ready and have a way to defeat you superheroes. The unknown artificial intelligence is extremely proud, as if everything is under control. Who created you? Hearing what the other party said, Tang Tian asked again, very interested in this guy's origin. At the very least, there are very few artificial intelligences in the world of Marvel. Except for Ultron and Jarvis, who have super fast learning ability, there seems to be no more powerful artificial intelligence. In this regard, the artificial intelligence of the Hydra organization should be an artificial intelligence that was born under certain conditions. Drive Zola, or myself, it doesn't matter anyway. No one has known my name for a long time, about 70 years or so. Suddenly, an instrument in the room automatically operated, and the stereo projector intertwined with each other to form the appearance of Dr. Zola, sighing life likely. Dr. Zola, composed of three-dimensional projections, looked at Tang Tian in front of him with a sinister face. Drive Zola. Hearing this name, Tang Tian seemed to think that during the time of Captain America, the notorious scientist under the Red Skull once absorbed energy from the Rubik's Cube to create supernatural weapons. After that, Dr. Zola, like Red Skull, had the idea of ruling the world, so he tried his best to help Red Skull achieve the goal of world domination. However, the appearance of Captain America completely interrupted Dr. Zola's goal, and eventually led to the destruction of the Hydra organization. Only the core figure, Baron Zemo, survived. The secret development of the Snake organization. Until today, the Hydra organization has developed into a behemoth again. It has gradually assisted S.H.I.E.L.D. and even has an extremely powerful counterattack ability, making S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury exhausted and running for his life. Surprised, right, I have put in a lot of effort to survive, and this is just one of the keys. After the Hydra organization has risen completely, my goal is even bigger. I want to completely control human beings. Only in this way can the world be peaceful, and superheroes are the root of all peace. Dr. Zola revealed all his plans, and he didn't even hide his identity. Although he was not afraid of Tang Tian leaving here, he was even more afraid of Tang Tian reporting on him. The Hydra organization can no longer keep up with the times. I advise you to catch it without a fight. Otherwise, what is waiting for you may be the complete destruction of the Hydra organization. Tang Tian shook his head, looked at Dr. Zola with a slight threat and said, he was not polite at all, it was the last chance for him. Cut off one head and grow two heads. This is the concept that Hydra has developed so far. We have been very successful until now. Faced with Tang Tian's disdain, Dr. Zola was not surprised. Recalling his past experience, he added, in 1972, I was diagnosed with cancer. Fortunately, at that time, the field of artificial intelligence began to make breakthroughs. It was able to become the current digital life and led Hydra to rise. It seems that during this period, the Hydra organization has done a lot of things. And it's not a good thing. Tang Tian can naturally hear how many bad things Dr. Zola has done in order to rise these years. This is natural. The rise of Hydra cannot be separated from the departure of some people. Anyway, you are dying, so it is completely fine for you to know the truth. Dr. Zola didn't hesitate at all. The stereoscopic projection was changed for a while, and the new picture was like a projector, showing the various experiences he had made in order to rise in these years. The Hydra organization has been committed to creating a chaotic world, and in this world, to take back all human freedom, so that the world will not have wars and achieve true peace. While Dr. Zola was talking, the stereoscopic projection was also playing how the Hydra organization developed from a dead organization to a resurgent situation. In the picture, through the secret infiltration and development of the Hydra organization, the top executives of the SHIELD, to build a terrifying world of incomparable chaos. Stupid choice. Trying to use an organization to control the world is the stupidest choice. If I were you, I would never be so high profile without having absolute strength. Tang Tian shook his head, still feeling that the Hydra organization was very ignorant and not a normal organization. You don't need to worry about this. With the operation of my insight plan and the upgrade of my program, the whole world will be under my control. You are bound to lose, and your life is already dead. Entering the countdown, the road to the underworld has been opened for you. After Dr. Zola finished speaking, the stereo projector switched again and started a 60-second countdown, which made Deadpool on one side nervous. What do you want to do, Dr. Zola? Do you think that just a few tons of bombs can kill me directly? Looking at the countdown in front of him, Tang Tian's eyes did not fluctuate at all, and he looked at Dr. Zola with a mocking tone, not feeling that this would cause him any harm. Ha ha ha, unfortunately, it won't be long before a ballistic nuclear missile will accidentally deviate from the base and fly to where you are. I wish you good luck, Tang Tian, and die with a part of the truth. Dr. Zola's entire face emerged, showing him a sinister smile, and finally disappeared before his eyes, leaving behind an extremely different Deadpool with a nervous expression on his face. At the same time, the gates of the entire base were completely closed, with alloy doors half a meter thick, blocking all the entrances to the base, completely trapping them here. Looking at the disappearing Dr. Zola, Tang Tian was still very surprised. He thought that in order to delay the time, that guy really dared to do anything. Send it to heaven. It's a pity that Dr. Zola still underestimated himself and underestimated Tang Tian's strength, thinking that he could kill him directly by using such means. What to do, boss? We can't escape smoothly now. If we stay here, even if we can survive, we will suffer heavy losses. Deadpool didn't expect that the Hydra organization was really ruthless, with one method after another, and there was simply no possibility of ending. Before, I cooperated with the people of the Hellfire Club, and they were directly pitted. Now it is even better. I dug a lore trap here, and waited for them to jump out directly. It can be said that it is simply unstoppable. Don't worry, there's no need to worry anyway. If you want to escape, it may take a while. Hydra and the gang have already thought of all the schemes. Maybe we can escape. Someone else attacked. Tang Tian shook his head, with an extremely calm expression. He felt that although the group of Hydra organization was not strong in itself, their strategies were definitely top-notch, which caused him great trouble. At this time, at an altitude meters, a nuclear missile that was moving at high speed fell into the sky above Pierce's villa at an extremely fast speed, and a mushroom cloud suddenly burst out. Almost at the moment of the explosion, Tang Tian also activated Susano's power, wrapped him and Deadpool tightly, and let the shock wave of the explosion disperse, but did not cause any harm to them. After the terrible explosion lasted for 3 minutes, it was finally over. Tang Tian also slashed through the ruins and jumped out of the dilapidated villa. Who knew, just after escaping from the villa in a state of embarrassment, a golden red figure suddenly fell from the sky, and when he saw the intact Tang Tian again, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Brother, I'm really happy to see you alive. I came here non-stop when I got the news just now. I was a little worried about your safety when I saw the nuclear missile explode. Tony looked worried. Seeing that Tang Tian was still in good condition, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. What's going on, Tony? What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to stand by and look for Spider-Man? Why are you here? Tang Tian was very curious. Looking at Iron Man in front of him, he wanted to ask him why he came here and what he wanted to do. Sorry, brother, it's not that I don't want to stay where I am. It's just that some people can't be contacted anymore. The Hydra group made a quick move. I don't know how. Both Spider-Man and Captain America are wanted. Even Coulson and others have not escaped. We are in the worst situation. Iron Man is very sad. He has fought against Hydra several times. They are almost completely defeated. Now S.H.I.E.L.D. is completely suppressed. If they want to make changes, they will almost have to pay a high price. That's it. As I expected, in comparison, our war with the Hydra organization has officially started from now on. I will contact Coulson and prepare for a full-scale conflict with the Hydra organization. Quote. Hearing Tony's words, Tang Tian was not surprised at all. After being slammed by the Hydra organization several times in a row, he deeply understood that this organization has no bottom line at all, so it is not surprising to do such a thing. Okay then, brother, I can only trust you now. I don't trust anyone except you. Tony sighed slightly, knowing clearly the horror of Hydra bearing its fangs, so he wanted to rely on Tang Tian to fight against this terrifying organization together. Don't worry, everything will be fine, the game has just begun. After they finish this game, then it's my turn. Tang Tian's eyes showed a cold light, and he began to think about how to deal with the Hydra organization and stop the opponent's plot. 3 hours later, in front of an unfinished building, Coulson waited quietly here, with several agents beside him, looking around vigilantly to prevent their hiding place from being discovered. Within a few minutes, Tang Tian and Tony came here and met with Coulson to discuss how to deal with the Hydra organization. You are here. It seems that you have seen the methods of Hydra, right? Now let's discuss and counter their plan. Coulson looked at the two of them and said with a wry smile. No problem, anyway, now we can only accept two results, one is success, the other is failure, and there is no way to retreat. Tang Tian frowned, and said to Coulson sincerely. Of course, although we are facing a lot of trouble now, the situation is still under control. Director Nick, we have other plans in advance, and we will work with the director to fight back against the Hydra organization. With firm eyes, Coulson explained the current situation in detail in a relaxed tone, causing Tang Tian to nod slightly. However, so what if you are prepared? I remember S.H.I.E.L.D., which has already been taken over by Hydra gangsters. What's the specific counterattack time? Tang Tian interrupted Coulson and asked him questioningly. The counterattack plan will be implemented in a day's time. S.H.I.E.L.D. also needs a day's preparation before it can mobilize more forces. Only in this way can we be sure of victory. Coulson explained in detail that during this period of time, the preparations for S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson knew well that in order to kill the Hydra organization with one blow, they had to use all their strength to gather more agents and superheroes. Only a hero can have a chance to turn defeat into victory. That's it. Tang Tian nodded, thinking of the insight plan of the Hydra organization. He asked Coulson, Coulson, Dr. Zola has created an algorithm and is about to start the insight plan, do you know what's going on here? Quote. Hearing Tang Tian's question, Coulson said almost without thinking, the insight plan, as the name suggests, is to use the system's lock to find everyone on the Earth, get rid of the unstable factors, and the rest will naturally be obtained. A world of peace. It's really a crazy plan. If this plan is successful, I don't know how many people will die. Don't you S.H.I.E.L.D. pay more attention to it? The teacher made all these troubles. Tang Tian was very speechless. He didn't know what the S.H.I.E.L.D. people were doing for food. I'm sorry, we didn't find out that this was a Hydra organization's conspiracy at the beginning. We agreed to this plan in a daze. If this plan is activated, then the 3 aircraft carriers of S.H.I.E.L.D. will fly directly towards the target. In an instant, a high-energy laser is released, destroying all those who are not good for Hydra. Coulson looked at him with a wry smile. He thought that the advanced technology that could change the world and save mankind would be used by the bad guys and become their nightmare. Forget it, let's not talk about this aspect, just deal with the current problem first. The trouble of the Hydra organization must be settled by me. Tang Tian said categorically. Using Skynet to contact Serena and Lucian, and ordered them to assemble a super soldier army, preparing to launch another attack on the Hydra organization. As this decisive battle with the Hydra organization, Tang Tian attached great importance to it, and quickly connected all his forces, preparing to completely wipe out this organization. Moreover, Tang Tian has always been a person who repays favors and revenges. This time, let's not talk about missions. Since the Hydra organization offended him so hard, he will definitely make the other party pay the price. On the other side, as a stream of red smoke dissipated, Black Emperor Shao and White Queen brought the Winter Soldier to the headquarters of the Hydra organization. As soon as he came in, Baron Zemo, the current leader of the Hydra organization, led a lot of his men, and looked at the extremely embarrassed Winter Soldier and the expressionless Black Emperor Shao, showing a smile. Of course, Baron Zemo took a look at the metal arm of the Winter Soldier, and found that it was covered with scorched black, which seemed to be overloaded with absorbed energy, and the vibration metal was a little damaged. Mr. Shao, thanks to your escort, the Winter Soldier was able to come back perfectly. How about it? Did you meet your opponent and didn't catch Tony Stark? Baron Zemo asked Huang Shao straight to the point. Hearing this, Huang Shao's face was not very good looking. Thinking of the super powerful Tang Tian, he lost his temper and spoke. Of course, the strength is outrageous. And the ability is very strange. What kind of monster did your Hydra provoke? Huang Shao asked questioningly, wanting to know the details of Tang Tian. It's nothing. He is the biggest obstacle to Dr. Zola's Insight plan. He is also the most threatening enemy beyond superheroes. The time to deal with him is yet to come. We don't need to worry for now. Baron Zemo shrugged and said lightly. By the way, I heard that the Insight project is about to start. After you succeed, I will launch mutants and let them cooperate to act together. In the end, we will join forces to rule the world. Huang Shao yearned so much. He had been waiting for 50 years, and he didn't want to wait any longer, so he finally chose to cooperate with Baron Zemo to accomplish this almost impossible goal. Yes, one day later, the Insight project will officially start. We will start to completely eliminate those who are harmful to the Hydra organization. After this is done, half of the world will be distributed to you. Baron Zemo is very confident and made a promise to Black Emperor Shao. With the addition of these mutants, even if S.H.I.E.L.D. counterattacks, they are capable of completely suppressing it. Very good. One day later, all the mutants of the Hellfire Club will also cooperate with the Hydra organization. We will follow your request to protect the safety of the aircraft carrier. Black Emperor Shao nodded, and let the Red Devil lead them away. While they were talking, the Winter Soldier, who was hit hard on the head, passed an unexpected clip in his mind, namely, the time he and Captain America lived together, and the scene of himself falling into the ice field, appearing like a projector in his head. Steve Rogers, Captain America, my friend. The Winter Soldier muttered to himself, as if thinking of something. However, when he heard the words of the Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo's face changed, and several Hydra fighters around him also immediately grabbed the Winter Soldier. Don't touch me. Sensing someone touching him, the Winter Soldier roared and kicked the two Hydra warriors away with one kick, as if very irritable, which made Baron Zemo on the side very angry. At this time, the surrounding Hydra warriors raised their assault rifles and aimed at the Winter Soldier in front of them to prevent him from violently rising again and causing them serious trouble. What's going on, Winter Soldier? Who allowed you to resist us? The purpose of our creation of you is to make this world peaceful. Now accept the arrangement immediately and go into freezing dormancy. Baron Zemo came over and looked at the Winter Soldier in a commanding tone, hoping he would stop making trouble. After all, it seemed that there was going to be a decisive battle with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tang Tian. If something went wrong on the Winter Soldier's side, the strength of their Hydra organization would be severely weakened. But, I remember that my friend's name is Rogers, who is also Captain America. I shouldn't be here. The Winter Soldier looked dazed, as if he had remembered something, but he had forgotten something. His memory was good and bad, making him unclear who he really was. No, you're just tired. I'll ask the doctor to take a good look at you. Go down, I think you'll figure it out. Facing the memory of the Winter Soldier who seemed to be about to wake up, Baron Zemo had an ugly face, and said softly to the Winter Soldier, finally calming the other party's emotions. Afterwards, several doctors pressed the Winter Soldier into a room and brainwashed it again, trying to control the weapon perfectly in their own hands. While the Winter Soldier was brainwashing again, Alexander Pierce came to Baron Zemo, walking slowly with excitement in his eyes and a hint of complacency. Zemo, our plan is going well, and the Insight project is fully activated. We have the support of mutants, so our plan will be successful. Pierce was extremely excited, feeling that the Hydra organization had seized the future and could change all troubles. Of course, don't forget about S.H.I.E.L.D.'s movements, especially Tang Tian, who is also a bit difficult to mess with. As long as we guard against them, the whole world can fall into our hands, and as long as we plan to if it is activated, they will have no room to turn around. Baron Zemo squinted his eyes and said in a relaxed tone, as if everything was under control. After the conspiracy on the side of Hydra gradually surfaced, the wanted Nick Fury led a group of agents and superheroes to hide in a temporary stronghold, discussing ways to fight against Hydra. Now, Nick Fury has become the target of everyone's shouting and beating, and the actions on the surface are no longer feasible, so Director Nick can only put all his eggs in one basket and fight a decisive battle with the Hydra organization. Alexander Pierce, he is really sophisticated in this game. He actually deceived me by feigning death. He was the one who taught me how to contribute to the United States. I didn't expect him to be a member of the Hydra organization. After Nick Fury learned the information, he sighed with emotion to his former master Pierce. At the beginning, when Nick Fury first entered S.H.I.E.L.D., he was taken care of by Pierce. In the end, through his own efforts, he became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, the world is so strange. Pierce, who had been kind to him, turned out to be a high-ranking member of a hostile organization and knew him very well, so when Nick Fury felt sorry, he felt a little helpless. It's nothing, Director, it's time to correct the mistake. We must prevent this disaster from happening before the Sky Carrier is activated. The Black Widow said worriedly that in order to prevent the launch of the 3 aircraft carriers, they must find a solution to the problem. Hearing what Black Widow said, Nick Fury took out the box in his hand, placed it on the table, and entered the password. Crack. The box was opened, and there were 3 chips lying quietly inside. Chip, Chief, is this the key to stopping this disaster? The Black Widow asked thoughtfully, wanting to know whether the power they currently control can prevent this disaster. Of course, in order to prevent the Insight plan from being used by those who are interested. So I secretly created a countermeasure, as long as this thing is implanted into the Sky Carrier, so that Hydra's conspiracy can be stopped. Nick Fury explained his plan in detail. As long as the chip is implanted into the central system when the aircraft carrier is just started, in this way, the program of the aircraft carrier in the sky can be fully controlled by them. Wait, Nick, don't you want to keep these terrifying weapons? After understanding Nick Fury's detailed plan, Captain America felt unreliable. If such weapons were left, if something happened to S.H.I.E.L.D., wouldn't it cost a lot of people to sacrifice? This is natural. The intention of these weapons is good. If they can be rescued, try to rescue them as much as possible, so as not to cause more serious losses. Nick Fury didn't think it was wrong. As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he naturally wanted to minimize the losses. Otherwise, after this battle, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s family might be wiped out. I refuse, Nick. The 3 aircraft carriers of the Insight project must be destroyed directly. This is not only for our safety, but also for the safety of others. You must promise me, otherwise, I will not participate in this operation. Quote. Captain America shook his head. He has his own stubbornness and doesn't like to control his life. In the hands of the unreliable S.H.I.E.L.D., he will save himself from being tricked by this guy again. Okay then, I promise you. Nick Fury didn't feel strange about Captain America's refusal, and after struggling for a while, he agreed to Captain America's request. At the same time, Nick Fury got in touch with another superhero, Falcon, and asked the opponent to come within a distance of him, preparing to participate in the mission of counter-attacking the Hydra organization. By the way, I contacted Coulson to check the progress of Tang Tian's side, preparing to join forces tomorrow and launch an all-out war against the Hydra organization. At the same time, in the Osborn Industrial Building, Coulson followed Tang Tian and took the elevator to the underground laboratory. Just arrived here, Coulson was still a little puzzled. He didn't know the purpose of Tang Tian bringing him here. Seeing that the Hydra showdown was about to start, seeing Tang Tian's unhurried appearance really made Kay Urson was a little anxious. Mr. Tang Tian, what are we doing? Don't we need to be prepared to fight against the Hydra organization? Coulson was very anxious, and he didn't know why Tang Tian remained calm in such a critical situation. Hearing this, Tang Tian smiled lightly, and didn't explain much, because sometimes facts speak louder than words, and when the facts are in front of him, I believe Coulson will understand his good intentions. Ding! When the elevator door opened again, Coulson found that they were in front of a huge laboratory. The whole laboratory was extremely bright, and sparks were constantly emitting from the assembly line factory. I saw that in front of the conveyor belt in the laboratory, the parts of the T-850 Terminator were continuously and quickly assembled, implanted with active skin, and the assembled Terminator robot looked no different from ordinary people. This is a robot, I'm not mistaken, Mr. Tang Tian, you actually have such a secret army. Coulson said in surprise. He never expected Tang Tian to have such a steel troop, and it seemed that the number was quite large, enough to participate in this operation. That's right, the Terminator robots that Superalloy knows have the level of Captain America in every strength. They are only strong but not weak. I have already produced 1,000 Terminator robots, which are enough for the next war. Tang Tian's expression remained unchanged, and he had sufficient confidence in this duel with Hydra. Perhaps, the Hydra organization will play some tricks and will continue to cause them trouble, but what does that matter? In the face of absolute strength, any tricks are just a joke. In fact, the Hydra organization was able to cause troubles for Tang Tian several times. It was nothing more than their intelligence work, which was done very well. Coupled with the mixing of mutants from the Hellfire Club, it caused Tang Tian a lot of trouble, little trouble. It's not bad, but the mutants in the Hellfire Club are not so easy to deal with. I didn't expect that the Hydra organization could invite mutants to join. Otherwise, we would definitely win 100%. Suddenly, thinking of the equally difficult Black Emperor Shao and White Queen, Coulson was still a little helpless, and lamented the cleverness of the Hydra organization, and knew how to win over other forces to increase its strength. Coulson, don't think so much. This world is inherently complex and changeable. It's not too strange for such a change to happen. Don't worry, this time I have a careful plan, and the Hydra organization will definitely not be able to escape. Tang Tian said confidently. Obviously the Hydra organization has been settled, even if there are any disturbances, he can easily deal with them and complete this task smoothly. One day later, in New York City, in a building. After Tang Tian was ready, he joined forces with S.H.I.E.L.D. At the same time, Tang Tian's already prepared super soldier troop and Terminator army were scattered around, waiting for his order and ready to attack at any time. Coming here, besides Hawkeye, Black Widow and Captain America, Tang Tian also met Falcon, Iron Man, and S.H.I.E.L.D. a little less. Unbelievable, I didn't expect that Mr. Tang Tian would also participate in this operation. In this way, our chances of winning will be even higher. You really deserve to be a superhero. Seeing Tang Tian's arrival, Captain America was still very surprised, but quickly reacted, stretched out his hand and said to him with a smile. It's nothing. Being a hero is not my original wish. I just want to live an ordinary life. Unexpectedly, Hydra won't give me this opportunity, so I can only become his enemy. Tang Tian shook his head with a look of helplessness. Based on the mentality that no one offends me and I don't offend others, Tang Tian has been living peacefully in this world without being disturbed by anyone. Apart from performing some tasks, he has not done anything bad. It's just that the group of Hydra organization went too far, not to mention attacking him, but also dug a big hole for him, trying to send him to hell, so in order to retaliate against the Hydra organization, he will never let the other party have anything good end. Hearing Tang Tian's words, Captain America smiled awkwardly. Before he could finish speaking, a red afterimage appeared on the ceiling. Immediately afterwards, Spider-Man fell from the sky and landed in front of them. Hey, guys, I'm not late. I've arrived as fast as I can. If there's anything to do this time, I'll help you do it together. After Spider-Man landed, he looked towards Iron Man, who seemed to be waiting for his arrangement, ready to carry out the task at any time. Because, when Iron Man was Peter Parker in the morning, Iron Man promised Peter a reward of $1,000 million, so in order to get this money, Spider-Man didn't mind performing this dangerous mission. No, we are just about to announce the mission. Tang Tian smiled gently at Peter and explained casually. Captain America glanced at Spider-Man, and said again, our purpose this time is to prevent the 3 aircraft carriers from taking off, destroy them, or regain control. So, what about the detailed arrangements? Iron Man asked suspiciously, at this moment when a single hair will affect the whole body, knowing the plan completely is the most correct choice. It's very simple. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. has been occupied, it has not been completely emptied. There are still some people who have been deceived, so I am willing to take the lead and persuade them to surrender. Captain America considers the importance of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he wants to keep those innocent agents and doesn't want to blame them. That's it. It seems that part of your mission is to instigate internal rebellion, and the other part is to directly launch a general offensive. Together, we will dismantle the enemy's conspiracy, right? Tony is not an idiot. When Captain America said the plan, his eyes lit up and he clapped his hands. That's right, that's right. Moreover, the 3 sky battleships are located in the basement of S.H.I.E.L.D. We try not to activate these 3 aircraft carriers, otherwise it will be very difficult to stop them. Nick Fury made a supplementary explanation, and everyone also understood how arduous this mission is. If you don't try it a little, you may face the end of annihilation of the entire army. No problem, I agree with this plan, and I still have my own troops. When Captain America and you are attracting the enemy's attention, we will hide in the dark, and when the time comes, we will give the enemy a fatal blow, try to prevent the aircraft carrier from starting, and wait the moment you start to take effect. I will cooperate with you internally and externally to defeat the Hydra organization together. Tang Tian nodded. He didn't object to Captain America's plan. Anyway, it was very beneficial to him, and he didn't mind acting together according to Captain America's request. Thank you, Mr. Tang Tian. Now that the action plan is ready, let's start now. Go to the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters at full speed. In the end, Captain America made a final decision, and the 3-way war officially kicked off. At the same time, the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters was peaceful, and even the mutants of the Hellfire Club were invited to participate in the meeting. I saw that they raised their wine glasses one after another, with happy expressions on their faces, and celebrated lively. Those who didn't know thought they had done something good. Seeing the joy of the crowd, Pierce was radiant, raised his red wine glass in high spirits, and said to the senior management of Hydra in an excited tone, the Insight Project is about to start, and our world will usher in peace. There will be no more disasters, and human beings will be free. Let us celebrate now that eternal peace has come. Long live Hydra. In an instant, all the senior leaders of the Hydra organization raised their right hands to celebrate the arrival of this moment. The Black Emperor Shao and the White Queen Emma didn't say anything at that time, and stood by the side in a low-key manner, watching Pierce's speech. Hee, mutants are the future of mankind. Waiting for you to defeat these superheroes is the moment when mutants will rise. Haiwang Shao squinted his eyes, looked at Pierce who was speaking in front of him, and showed a sarcastic smile. As for the White Queen, she naturally knew what Black Emperor Shao was thinking, so it was no surprise that he planned to take advantage of Hydra's back and lead the mutants to a complete rise. On the other side, Captain America used his skills and the help of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to easily wipe out the Hydra soldiers on the road and came to the broadcasting room. Captain, I leave it to you. Please stop this disaster and prevent more innocent people from appearing. Falcon Sam pleaded, eager for Captain America to succeed. Don't worry, I guarantee with my personality that I will definitely prevent this disaster and will not let the Hydra organization go unpunished. Captain America responded firmly, picked up the microphone, took a deep breath, and spoke directly. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I am Captain America Rogers. You have been deceived. The so-called Insight Project is only to solve the actions of superheroes. Moreover, the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. has been occupied by Hydra. Now please take out your weapons and resist. Don't be fooled by them, we are about to counterattack, please make more choices for yourself. After Captain America finished speaking, he hung up the communication, walked out with Falcon, and began to clean up the nearby Hydra soldiers to give Tang Tian and the others a chance. Sure enough, Captain America's words were useful. The expressions of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who were celebrating suddenly changed. More than a dozen agents pulled out their guns one after another, trying to kill Alexander Pierce in front of them. However, Pierce was not worried at all. Instead, he glanced lightly at the Black Emperor Shao and White Queen Emma beside him, showing a relaxed expression. Pierce, you lied to us. You made me your accomplice. More than a dozen agents were very angry, took out their pistols, and wanted to kill Pierce in front of them. Who knew, before he touched the torrent around Haiwangshao, a tornado appeared in the palm of his hand, and with a flick of his hand, several agents were swept out and fell to the ground hard. Immediately afterwards, the White Queen's telepathic ability was activated, and these agents were controlled by him, pointing their guns at their foreheads one after another, and pressing the trigger. For a moment, the whole air was filled with a strong smell of blood, which looked extremely terrifying, making people feel daunting, and there was also an aura of death. Mr. Shao, I made you laugh. It seems that there are still some who don't obey my guidance. It's good to deal with it. Pierce smiled without the slightest worry, and looked at Haiwangshao gratefully. Anyway, the dozen or so agents were not of one mind with him, and it was a good result to be killed by these mutants directly. It's nothing, I'm just fulfilling our cooperation. Anyone who comes to block our plan will only die. Haiwangshao said firmly. He didn't think his side would lose. New York City, SHIELD headquarters, in front of the building. After the start of the battle on Captain America's side, Tang Tian didn't stay idle either. He directly brought Spider-Man and his own Super Soldier Legion to the gate of SHIELD. Thunder. Looking at the gate in front of him, Tang Tian's eyes showed a trace of disdain, and a ball of lightning appeared in the palm of his hand, and the gate of SHIELD headquarters was blasted open. Mr. Tang Tian, what do I need to do? Spider-Man looked at Tang Tian, who broke through the gate of SHIELD, and couldn't help asking. Go to Alexander Pierce, and if you catch her, this battle will be over early. Tang Tian ordered, and then he winked at the super soldier troops around him. Immediately, about 2,000 troops rushed inside. Understand. Hearing Tang Tian's order, Spider-Man didn't hesitate, used the spider's silk to wave a few times, and disappeared in place. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the place where the high-level leaders of the Hydra organization gathered. In less than 3 seconds, it came from inside. Fierce gunshots. Obviously, the continuous chaos has officially begun. No one knows when it will end, but it is impossible to stop before everything is over. After watching Spider-Man back leave, Tang Tian walked in unhurriedly, raised his right hand casually, and a flash of lightning struck the siren not far away. Of course, the reason why Tang Tian hit the siren was to attract all the Hydra soldiers inside, pull them to a position, and beat them up. This was Tang Tian's simple plan. In an instant, the entire hall was filled with a strange red light, as if he felt an enemy attack, and hundreds of Hydra soldiers nearby aimed their guns at him. However, before these Hydra soldiers could make a move, the super soldiers standing in front of Tang Tian let out roars one after another, turning into giant 3-meter-high werewolves, and sent several Hydra soldiers flying with one paw. Go out. With the appearance of werewolves, Hydra soldiers also felt incredible, so they shifted their guns and wanted to shoot these werewolves. It's a pity that the Terminator on one side didn't react slowly. When the Hydra soldier just had such an idea, the Terminator robot pressed the trigger and killed the enemies who tried to fight back. The first contact between the troops of the two sides, the Hydra soldiers were beaten to pieces. Under Tang Tian's leadership, those Hydra soldiers who had just been drawn out were completely wiped out by him, and no one survived. Suddenly, when all the dust settled, Deadpool used teleportation to appear in front of Tang Tian and nodded to him. Deadpool, have you done what you asked to do? Tang Tian asked thoughtfully, as if ordering Deadpool to do other things. Of course, Connors has prepared a special nerve anesthetic, which is very effective. It only takes a little bit to anesthetize 10 elephants. Deadpool said straightforwardly, and acted very relaxed. Very good, let's continue to act. The game has just begun, let us enjoy this game. Tang Tian didn't have any psychological pressure at all for this battle, and prepared to complete this system task with the mentality of a game. After thinking about it, Tang Tian ordered Deadpool to take the elevator with him, and the two of them entered the underground base of SHIELD, and ordered the Super Warrior Corps to come down in batches after they went down to clean up all the Hydra in the base. Warrior. Immediately afterwards, the two of them took the elevator and entered the underground base. The door of the elevator opened slowly, and Tang Tian also walked out, but he didn't find anyone else, which made him a little confused. People. When Tang Tian was confused, a strong sense of crisis filled his heart. Before he could react, Tang Tian's samsara eye opened, and Shen Luo Tianzheng activated instantly. In an instant, the scorching red energy was bounced away by Tang Tian, and as soon as he turned his head away, Tang Tian found Hai Wangxiao leading the rapids and the Red Devil, walking over. Obviously, the set of red energy just now was released by He Huangxiao, which almost caused him a lot of trouble. Although Tang Tian's strength is very strong and has reached the pinnacle of the Zhuanying level, he may still be injured if he is attacked by surprise, so He Huangxiao's surprise attack made him feel unprecedented anger. Long time no see, Black Emperor Xiao, I didn't expect you to dare to come here to seek death. Sure enough, I underestimated your ambition too much. Cooperating with Hydra is the biggest failure of your life. If you offend me, your plan is not good. It might work. Tang Tian frowned, and said in surprise. Hee, don't be complacent, Tang Tian. Facing the cooperation of the three of us, for the sake of the rise of mutants, you should be obedient and die. Hai Wangxiao gave Tang Tian a disdainful look, and then gave orders to his subordinates. Torrent, let's do it. Hearing his boss's order, the torrent moved quickly, and he released the two tornadoes from his hands, turning into two huge tornadoes, and suddenly flew towards Tang Tian's position. Watching this scene, Deadpool took out his two knives, stared closely at the huge tornado in front of him, and blocked Tang Tian, as if he wanted to prevent the immediate crisis for his boss. Get out of the way, Deadpool. I'll leave this to me. I haven't moved my muscles for a long time. I just want to try the tornado. Can it reach the level one want? Tang Tian waved his hand, Deadpool nodded and moved in an instant, then rushed to the Red Devil on one side, brandishing his two knives. The Red Devil was stunned for a moment, completely unaware that Deadpool's target was himself, so he dodged Deadpool's double knives with a single teleportation. Ding! Puff! Fortunately, the Red Devil dodged in time, and the knife brushed across his face, but it also made the Red Devil feel a little frightened by the fighting power of Deadpool. You dare to sneak attack me, then you are my enemy. The Red Devil was very angry. Looking at Deadpool, he felt extremely annoying. Then, one of the two could teleport and the other used the space ability, and the battle became stalemate. On the other side, facing the torrent of tornadoes, Tang Tian's eyes turned into kaleidoscope Sharingans, and Susanoo opened them instantly, smashing the two tornadoes with one easy punch. What? Seeing his own strength being easily dispelled, Lei Lu also felt a little unbelievable, knowing that he should have encountered an iron plate. Thunder done. Pseudo-darkness. Looking at the torrent in the distance, Tang Tian used the ninjutsu of the Book of Seals, and the thunder dragon formed by a ball of lightning let out a roar and suddenly attacked the torrent. Don't try to succeed. Looking at his subordinates, Lei Long trembled in front of him. He Huangxiao took the lead and absorbed Tang Tian's ninjutsu completely. What I have to say is that Hai Wangxiao's ability is considered very strong, and it is almost impossible for ordinary people to take advantage of him. Interesting, then let me see how much energy you can absorb. After discovering Hai Wangxiao's ability and restraining his own ninja, Tang Tian manipulated Susanoo, condensed a Thunder God Sword, and stabbed fiercely at Hai Wangxiao in front of him. As a result, He Huangxiao didn't back down and caught Tang Tian's Thunder God Sword. Surprisingly, He Huangxiao was not injured at all. Anyone who quickly absorbed the energy of thunder and lightning made his face a layer of red light was emitted. After feeling the energy attack, which had no effect on Hai Wangxiao, Tang Tian also took the initiative to distance himself from him, looking at Hai Wangxiao in front of him in surprise. The energy in your body is very strong. In addition to absorbing my energy, you should also need other energy. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible to release an attack with radiation just now. Tang Tian analyzed it calmly, then looked at Hai Wangxiao in front of him, and expressed his evaluation. Ha ha ha, you're really smart, but what's the use of knowing this? I should still be the final winner. As long as I'm under my protection, do you think the two of us will defeat him? Hai Wangxiao was very proud. He didn't feel that he would fail at all. He felt that he had fought Tang Tian twice, so he should have understood his details. Maybe, but you can't protect your subordinates. Tang Tian glanced at the torrent, and a black flame suddenly landed on him. What? Hai Wangxiao was taken aback, completely unaware that Tang Tian had other energies. When he reacted, the torrent had long since turned into a ball of fire, igniting a raging black flame. After seeing Amaterasu appearing, Haiwang Xiao hastily stretched out his left hand, trying to absorb the black flame, but just as his hand touched this special flame, a pain that could burn the soul reappeared in his hand. No, this flame is weird. Haiwang Xiao's face changed. Without hesitation, he cut off his left hand with a single knife to prevent Amaterasu from spreading again, and looked at Tang Tian with a kind of scenery. The advantage just now was completely gone. Hey Huang Xiao, your performance is over. I still have things to do now, play this game slowly by yourself. After using Amaterasu to knock out one of Haiwang Xiao's hands, Tang Tian used Susanoo to release a burst of energy, which blew up the ceiling above his head, and countless broken stones continued to fall from it. Dropped overhead. Taking advantage of this time, Tang Tian didn't bother, and quickly ran towards the positions of the 3 aircraft carriers. For him, dealing with the Black Emperor was important, but completing the mission was even more important. If he can't stop Hydra's conspiracy, he probably won't be able to get this reward, so it's naturally impossible for him to play alone with Haiwang Xiao. He Huang Xiao, who was not far away, looked at Tang Tian's fleeing figure, and could only give him a bitter look, desperately absorbing the energy of the falling boulder to resolve the immediate crisis. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.